Well, well, well. It looks like Mina has now come out and expressed how she is looking at the Dallas Cowboys. And if anybody has followed Mina Kimes for an extensive period of time, you know full well she is somewhat of a Dallas Cowboy hater. But with George Pickens, Dak Prescott being healthy and in the best shape of his life, Mina Kimes may have a few questions about the Dallas Cowboys defense, but the one thing she doesn't seem to have a question about is the Dallas Cowboys offense. Mina Kimes is absolutely hyped about the Dallas Cowboys, and she's trying to contain herself. And so today, for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, probably about an hour and a half, we're going to break down this entire Mina Kimes video. Plus, we're going to look at some things that I already brought up about some things that they're discussing, in particular as it applies to the Dallas Cowboys defense. I told you we were going to talk about that Cowboys defense, so we're going to use this thing with Mina Kimes to talk about this Dallas Cowboys defense. But again, let me show you what the show is. It's going to be very simple today. We're rolling with the Mina Kimes thing. We're going to look at Mina and Lenny talk about the Cowboys offense. We're going to look at them talking about the Dallas Cowboys defense. And then the show is going to be yours. So, let's get ready. Hold on just 1 second. And now we are ready to go. Let's get a quick roll call in, and then we're going to get this show started, man. This is a very, very good interview if you haven't heard it. All right, let's get this quick roll call in, and then we're going to get right to today's show. Dominique Pittman in the crib. You first. What's going on? Good to see you. Ghost of Mike McCarthy said, well, this could be a short tuning in for me if I got to listen to Mina Kimes. Hey, I know she is the resident Dallas Cowboy hater, but you're going to be pleasantly surprised, the Ghost of Mike McCarthy, because she's not the only one talking. She's got some guy named Lenny with her, and hey, she drinking the Kool-Aid. Ghost of Mike McCarthy. Lord Nova 95, what's going on with you? Randall Armstrong, what up with you? He said, I'm going out on a limb and say that Coach Shotty is going to be the coach of the year. Whoa, I can see that too. I could absolutely see that. Red, white, and blue island boy, what's going on? Hey, Mina has some things to say in this one. Maybe y'all hadn't heard this. Y'all tune in. D Mills said this is going to be a good year. This will be a great few years. I believe so too. I believe the Cowboys are about to go on a great run. John Jones, what up? New Jack City in the crib, let's go. Ice Cold Cowboy, what's going on with you? Good to see you. R-Dub 763, what it do? My man Robert Simmons back in the crib. Well, long time no see. Yeah, we finally got it back going on Wednesday. We about to get it back going. Let's go. Davion Wallace in the crib, let's go. You'll be in Oxnard. Oh, man, that's cool. Man, if you get some footage, send it to my email, man, and we'll have it on the show. Johnny Blue in the crib, what's going on? He says she's a hater. Hey, she might surprise y'all today. Obviously, y'all haven't heard this interview. Mina Kimes got some things to say about the Cowboys. D Wheels Beats, what's going on with you? Robert Dudley in the crib. Brian Worley, what's going on? Justin Dunham in here, what's going on? Gangsta Nip Show, what up? Gregory Carpenter in the crib. Jared Thomas, number one Dallas Cowboy fan. I'm number two. Let's go. Mina Kimes is a Seahawks fan. She's never liked the Dallas Cowboys or Dak, but she's smart enough to know what a healthy Dak in Dallas is pretty much guaranteed a playoff chance. Yeah, she got some good things to say today. A lot of y'all might hadn't heard this one. She got some things to say today, and I'm appreciating what she's saying today. Justin Durham, he said, greatest introduction of all time. Appreciate it. Let's go. Jeremy, let's go. Mina Kimes, that's my baby. Uh-oh, I see you. Gary Bookwalter in the crib. Let's go. Let's go. All right, we're about to get this thing going. Obviously, there are some of y'all who have not heard this interview. And I know full well, I am with you. Mina Kimes is a Dallas Cowboy hater. Mina Kimes has said some things in the past that have really rubbed me the wrong way, especially because some of those things actually be out of context. But I have to give it to her. I have to give it to her in this interview. She said some things, and in particular, her co-host, Lenny, said some things, and they really elaborate on some things with the Cowboys that I think that we're going to enjoy. I'm with my man, Justin Durham. Justin says, he says, smash that like button. Let's go. Hit that share button also. All right. Let's get into this thing with Mina Kimes. I think some of the things that she said were, as much as I hate to admit it, and I don't necessarily hate to admit it, but I just know how she's been a Dallas Cowboy hater in the past. But she seems to be saying some things that are spot on in this NFC East preview. I haven't listened to what she said about the other teams because, of course, I'm only interested on what she says about the Dallas Cowboys. But let's see how she starts this thing off. And you can tell, boy, she can't help herself. She knows that it looks like something special is brewing with the Dallas Cowboys. Let's roll it.
Run in sub packages last year, right? And so this is the way. We'll see. Yeah. Anyways, still love this offense. Still not worried about a sophomore slump.
She's talking about the
Commanders.
Commanders.
Fear some defensive regression. The Dallas Cowboys, I am kind of excited to talk about because...
Y'all see that look on her face? She couldn't hit. Hey, what the Cowboys did in free agency, what they did in the draft, and then George Pickens. And I still don't think the Cowboys are finished. But the George Pickens pick or the trade has been the cherry on the top for some people. And so, hey, she's excited. You can tell by that look on her face.
I am talking myself into this offense being good. And I want you to either hype me up or talk me down.
You don't have to talk yourself into it.
So the big change, of course, is the trade for George Pickens, which is really where you got to start. But, I think outside of that, you bring in Jaden Blue as your rookie running back, Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, underrated tight end group, Ferguson, Schoonmaker. The offensive line, the most Tyler-heavy offensive lines, the history of football, is young, and but there's some consistency there. You add Tyler Booker, so now you're going Guyton, Smith, Beebe, Booker, Steele, and then Dak Prescott's back. So I'm going to start here with why George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb on the field at the same time is a nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is. I know.
There is no getting around it. There is no denying it. Everybody can pretty much understand this. A.J. Brown had to concede this. CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens on the field at the same time is a nightmare. There are narrowly teams out there that have two cornerbacks that are going to be able to deal with the Cowboys. Let alone, she said, an underrated tight end room. Let alone what we're going to look like at the other positions with Cavante Turpin, Jalen Tolbert. Yep, I said Jalen Tolbert. I know some of y'all don't like it. Jalen Tolbert. Jaden Blue. Cowboys offensively, and the reason why I'm including Jaden Blue, I believe Jaden Blue is going to be in the Cowboys passing game too. So when you think about the weapons the Cowboys have, they are going to be a defensive nightmare once the season gets going. No doubt about it. And the offensive line, while we got concerns about Guyton and Steele, and it looks like from all intents and purposes, Guyton is definitely going to make a huge step. But when we think about Cooper Beebe, Ty Smith, Tyler Booker, well, the triangle, we know it is fantastic. Dak Prescott being healthy, boy, they're going to be hard to deal with. They are going to be hard to deal with offensively.
Oh, everybody said, well, yeah, if you get good George Pickens, okay, sure. But if you're a defense, you're anticipating it's the George Pickens who consistently wins down the sideline, and now you have to deal with him and CeeDee Lamb. Last year alone, when Lamb was playing with, Cooper Rush, versus single high coverage, CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens were respectively 4th and 8th in yards per game. Over the last 3 years on deep balls, 3rd and 5th in catches.
Let that sink in. Both of them with mediocre quarterback play from Cooper Rush and Russell Wilson, Justin Fields last year. They're now on the same team. And a lot of people are thinking that the Cowboys, we're going to run the ball. We got Clayton Adams. I got news for you. The Cowboys are going to run the ball better. Don't confuse that with the Cowboys are going to run the ball 45 and 50% of the time. Do not confuse that. That is not going to happen. When DK Metcalf hit the Seattle Seahawks, their passing percentage, their running percentage went down to around 40 or 41. And had it not been for Pete Carroll, it probably would have been less than that. That whole let Russ cook thing, that was Brian Schottenheimer. Brian Schottenheimer gave Russell Wilson three great seasons and got him that Denver Broncos contract. He should still be paying him a percentage. But I am telling us, I'm telling us, Dak Prescott is going to be bombs away. They're going to be able to run the ball because they're going to be so good, I believe, as far as the passing game goes. Teams won't be able to play them the same. Teams absolutely will not be able to play the Dallas Cowboys the same. There will be teams that will be able to rush 4 and drop 7, but they are going to be a force to deal with. They absolutely are. And with the line they have now, well, if you're going to drop 4, well, they will run the ball then. And then they're going to make you move up those linebackers, make you go single high safety, and then you're going to have all kinds of problems. The Cowboys, I'm telling you, they're going to give defense coordinators fits this year. They absolutely are.
As a defense, the pure math of having to deal with both of these two players and a quarterback who's capable of delivering them the ball accurately and aggressive.
Yeah.
Marshall, you're just so you have to make difficult decisions from the jump when you're playing these two wide receivers.
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb.
Now, you notice what she said about Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott healthy. And a lot of people don't realize something about Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is very aggressive. The issue is Dak hasn't had the kind of receiver that George Pickens is. CeeDee Lamb is top 3. George Pickens is a different kind of animal, though. George Pickens is a boundary receiver. He catches contested balls. Huge catch radius. Big body, and not really big, but still 6'3", a big body wide receiver with a huge catch radius, very strong, very good hands, catches contested passes. You watch what I tell you. Passes that Dak threw that turned into interceptions last year with lesser receivers, they'll either be completions or incompletions with George Pickens. Dak Prescott going to eat with George Pickens. You watch what I tell you. And if Ferguson, somebody mentioned in the chat here just a second ago, Rick Dunhauer said if Ferguson doesn't have a Pro Bowl year, he needs to go. Now, I don't know about needs to go, Rick, but I can tell you this. It's a travesty if he don't have a great season. The seams should be wide open with George Pickens on the perimeter and CeeDee Lamb eating up the middle of the field. Ferguson should absolutely eat. Dak Prescott has to be the best seam route throwing quarterback in the league. There is no way Jake Ferguson doesn't eat. There is no way. I'm telling us, the Cowboys are going to be they're going to be an absolute monster. They're going to be a nightmare for defensive coordinators. They're going to be a nightmare. And especially if this offensive line shapes up the way that Duke Manyweather, the Cowboys have Duke Manyweather. I don't know if y'all saw my video on Duke Manyweather. We're going to do, I'll come back and give you some of that information too. But I'm telling you, Duke Manyweather is whipping these Cowboys offensive linemen into shape. And I'm telling you, if Guyton takes off and still gets back to form, Cowboys going to be a problem. Oh, I'm just telling them. They are absolutely going to be a problem. And I think it doesn't take a rocket scientist. And Mina Kimes, as hard as she's hated on the Cowboys in the past, does anybody kind of hear a different type of tone in her voice? I hear a different tone in her voice. She is realizing that this team is looking pretty good. Check this out. Let's keep going.
Has been performing. You know, that's why he got his
and the rubber chicks, what's going on?
And they finally were like, all right, you are the guy. You are our guy. We're going to start using you in different ways. So they started, you saw us lining up in the slot more, being their motion guy. Well, what teams could do, and he still, had production, what teams could do is they could just have traveling brackets. They could just say, hey, we're in and outing him, we're high-lowing him as he goes. He still has production, but without a guy on the outside, a true X or another weapon, that could be a mismatch somewhere. He's less effective in the slot. Now you put George Pickens on one side of the field. You have CeeDee Lamb in the slot. You use him, to kind of uncover guys, and you have something that you can cook with. And Dak Prescott being back, I think obviously is huge. Their record wasn't great last year when he was still playing, but there was so many things that you could tell that just weren't right about him. I'm worried about the running back room. Yeah. Miles Sanders doesn't elicit a lot of excitement, especially when you talk about the years of having Zeke Elliott, the years of having a guy, a workhorse kind of running back behind an offensive line that warrants that type of running back and running style. But the passing game is going to be fun. So at the very least, they're going to be exciting to watch, and they're going to put up a lot of points. Assuming George Pickens, is a guy who can be reliable. He's literally a meme walking when it comes to some of his antics and his mannerisms, and it's incredible. He's an incredible must-watch when he's on the field. But the talent is there, absolutely. And
teenagers are building businesses with AI.
Dak has kind of really come into his own when it comes to giving 50-50 balls a chance to receivers. And so that's just the game that George Pickens plays. But also, listen, he's just a huge body that gives you a lot of room for.
See, he's saying some of the same thing I said. And see, the issue with Dak Prescott, a lot of people don't realize. Excuse me. You remember when everybody used to call Dak Dink and Dunk? Because it's strange now because Dak has left Dink and Dunk Dak, whatever they called him, Dink and Dunk Dak. He blessed that way back in the past. Dak is really aggressive. And what frustrated Dak Prescott so bad last year is that Dak was saying it. Guys are not where they're supposed to be. Guys were not fighting for the ball. Guys were not fighting through the double teams. They were not fighting the way that they should. CD Lamb is the perfect wide receiver for where Dak is at this point in his career. Could y'all imagine if Dez Bryant was in his prime with where Dak is right now? See, now Dak is willing to throw those balls that he was not willing to throw to Dez Bryant when him and Dez Bryant was first together. But see, now Dak is ready to unleash. Dak is ready to unleash. And I'm telling you, George Pickens is going to really help Dak Prescott in ways that I don't even think people understand how much this man is going to help Dak Prescott out. He is going to help Dak Prescott out. And I'm telling you this. Watch what I tell you. I don't think the Cowboys are done. I don't think the Cowboys are done. Don't rule out the Cowboys still bringing in additional offensive weapons. I think they're done outside-wise. I think they're loaded at wide receiver. The tight end room, I think they're going to give Ferguson his shot. But I am not going to be surprised if the Cowboys still go for an upgrade at running back. Understand this. Jaden Blue. Y'all need to really look at Jaden Blue in a whole different light. Jaden Blue is going to be, and this is why I'm so excited about Jaden Blue. Jaden Blue, for as much as we talk about Kevontae Turpin, Jaden Blue, understand this. Kevontae Turpin weighs about 155 pounds. Speed kills. So the Cowboys are going to have to get him in space. Do we not realize that Jaden Blue is 195 pounds? Ran a 4.2, 840? Probably plays somewhere around 4.3. He actually plays like he runs the 40s. Jaden Blue is going to be a nightmare. Not only in the Cowboys running game, he's going to be a nightmare in the Cowboys passing game. I'm telling you. You watch what I tell you. Jaden Blue is going to be a nightmare. And when they get Jaden Blue, Kevontae Turpin, CD Lamb, Pickens, Tolbert, all on the field at the same time, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. And Jaden Blue is going to be a huge player in the Cowboys passing game, I believe. Can you imagine Jaden Blue in the screen game? I don't care who the running back is. If Jaden Blue lines up back there and you get him in the screen game, it's going to be problems. It is going to be problems. And I am not going to be surprised if the Cowboys get the opportunity. I think they'll upgrade at running back. I'm not sold on Miles Sanders and all this OTA talk. I'm not sold on Miles Sanders. I'm not sold on this stuff out of pads with Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders has been in this league long enough. I think we know what he is. How much better could he be? Javonte Williams maybe got injured, so maybe everybody doesn't know exactly what he would be. But I do believe that if the Cowboys get their opportunity, they're going to upgrade at that running back position. Y'all watch what I tell you. They're going to upgrade. They're going to upgrade at that running back position, and they're going to bring in, and they're going to start trying to bring up Phil Maffa. I'm telling y'all, I believe that Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders are nothing but, they're just fillers. Even if it's for a season. But I wouldn't be surprised if both of them don't make it. And if the Cowboys get an opportunity, you watch what I tell you. They're going to upgrade at that running back position. They'll upgrade. If there's an opportunity, they will upgrade. Daniel M., don't you worry. I do think the Cowboys are going to upgrade their defense. I think they just want to get it in training camp, let everybody see what they're working with, maybe try some people out in some different places. We didn't see them. And then I think the Cowboys will proceed to probably go get a Stephon Gilmore, depending upon what they look like in the corner. Because I'm telling you, Kyrie Elam's going to be huge for the Cowboys, but they'll probably monitor Savon Revel Jr. and Trayvon Diggs, and I think they'll still probably bring in Stephon Gilmore for some insurance and even part of the rotation. But I think the Cowboys, I'm not ruling out the Cowboys are probably going to bring in some more help at defensive tackle. I'm not going to be surprised. So we all just need to just stay in pat. The Cowboys aren't through cooking. They've been way too quiet. The Joneses have been way too quiet. They're still working.
For air with his catch radius. And so you have CD causing havoc on one side and making defenses really kind of tilt to his side and follow him with their eyes. And then you have George Pickens on the other side, and then tight ends who can absolutely help you get from down to down.
So my hope for the running game stems from the passing game because just structurally, defenses are going to have to, earlier I gave the stats of both these receivers just destroying single high. As a defense, single high you really are not comfortable ISOing either of these guys.
Right.
So they're going to get a lot of light boxes. They're going to face a lot of too high, and that's going to, I think, help the run game. And that run game, to me, being better depends on like a few things happening. The young offensive line has to take another step. I want to talk to you about them in a minute, but there's continuity there, right? Like a lot of these guys got reps last year. I love that. Yeah. Guyton, Beebe, like they played together. And then obviously Tyler Smith is a stud. The young backs, Jaden Blue he's undersized, home run hitter, a little bit of fumbling problem in college, but as kind of the Tony Pollard role, I do like it.
Okay.
Javonte Williams, the guy who I'm hoping we can look a little bit more like he did at the beginning of his career, where he was really like tackle breaking, punishing bell cow back. And then I don't think I've talked about this, but they brought in, as Brian Schottenheimer is calling the plays, but as an offensive coordinator, he brought in Clayton Adams from Arizona.
I've been wondering about him. I haven't done a lot of research on Clayton Adams. He's a newer name for me.
So, he's coming from the Cardinals, who had
that's sick.
Unbelievable run game, dominant, right, over the last couple of years. And he brought some of his offensive line coaches with him, I believe. So, you never want to make huge assumptions, and obviously, James Conner's not walking through that door, but there's some pieces in place that make me think, okay, the favorable looks, different backs, young offensive line, interesting offensive coach who's had success with the run game.
If you think it might rain later, then all you need...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Cowboys, I think what we're really going to find out about this teams will no longer be able to play single high safety on the Cowboys. Single high safety, that's a thing of the past against the Cowboys. You'll never be able to run that again against the Dallas Cowboys. There is no way you can run single high safety on the Cowboys. You're done. I don't care who your team is. You're done if you run single high safety on the Cowboys. So what this is going to give the Cowboys the opportunity of is that if the Cowboys' offensive line becomes as big and bad and violent as Clayton Adams said that they are going to be, they are literally, when they do run the ball, they're going to destroy teams. They are literally going to destroy teams. The secondary of the opposing defense are going to have their hands full with the Cowboys' wide receivers and tight ends. They're going to have their hands full. That's going to leave the front four. The tight ends will be, the linebacking crew, they're going to have to be involved in the passing game too. That's going to leave with the Cowboys where the games are actually won. The trenches. Will the Cowboys in the trenches be able to take advantage of 5-on-4 or 5? Because a lot of these teams try to rush 4, drop 7. Will the Cowboys be able to go 5-on-4, attack and punish get maybe to the second level and get the running backs into the secondary. I think full well they should be able to do it. If Duke Manyweather does what Duke Manyweather does, the Cowboys are going to punish teams in the trenches. That includes the passing game. This is going to set up some amazing opportunities for the Cowboys that they haven't enjoyed since the 90s. Cowboys are going to have some incredible opportunities, I'm telling you. They're going to have some absolutely incredible opportunities offensively, and I'm here for it. Appreciate that super chat, Randy McIntyre. Yeah, Clayton Adams can make this offense great. See, they didn't get Clayton Adams to run the ball more. They got Clayton Adams to run the ball better. There's a difference. To run the ball better. Now, what's going to help Clayton Adams is the fact that you now have what you didn't even have in Arizona. You got a better quarterback. And Marvin Harrison Jr. or is he junior or the third? Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be an absolute beast, but he's not CeeDee Lamb. And when you think about CeeDee Lamb and Pickens, he now has a better passing game. So when you think about what he has in his favor, Clayton Adams, he should be able to offset the fact that Kyler Murray was a part of the run game, some of that scrambling and all of that stuff. Clayton Adams should easily be able to offset that. He should easily be able to offset that now with the weapons that he's going to have. So they didn't get him to run the ball more. They got him to run the ball better. And I do believe they're going to run the ball better because, kind of like what Mina Kimes is alluding to, mathematically, because teams can't run single high safety, that automatically helps the Cowboys run the ball better. The Cowboys automatically, because the defensive backs, they will not be able to be involved in the run game. They just won't. CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens going downfield will have their backs turned to the line of scrimmage a whole bunch. And the linebackers are going to have problems too because some of them are going to have to be involved in the passing game. And so when the Cowboys do run the ball, hey, it's going to be mano a mano. It's going to be mano a mano. And can that Cowboys defensive line, offensive line, can it rise to the occasion and punish teams when they get that opportunity to run? And I mean they get that opportunity to run and run violently. And if the line is cooking, Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders will look good by default. They'll look good by default. Straight up, they'll look good by default. But again, the guy who I'm hoping the Cowboys allow to work his way up the depth chart, I hope he fights his way up the depth chart, is Phil Maffa. Because I think he can be the new DeMarco Murray for the Cowboys. Javonte Williams, cool and all of that. Miles Sanders, I'm just not excited about these two guys. But if the line is good, they'll be fine. But I won't feel Maffa to eventually work his way up in there and be our next DeMarco Murray.
Have to do with this young offensive line coming together. How do you see that group playing?
They're physical. I mean, they're so bruising.
Yeah.
All of their necks are just are incredibly thick. I mean, these guys really they're grinders, and so they're the type of offensive line that Cowboys fans have come to get used to. We could say so many things about Jerry Jones, but for some reason they have just nailed their offensive line draft picks and structure for a decade now. It's kind of wild, and so. I think Tyler Booker is going to be a great addition. He's definitely a run blocker first, bigger guy, but they're going to lean on you. And so I absolutely understand the optimism with this, running back committee having production. And ultimately, do you need production that is, 1,200 yards? No, you need your run game to be believable. because ultimately the play action passing is what's going to kind of where you're going to make your bread. And
now, see, this mentality, this is the mentality I do not agree with. I'm telling you, I've heard Michael Parsons say it already. I've heard other people say it already. That because we got George Pickens, the Cowboys are going to put up points. I've seen Michael Irvin saying it. The Cowboys are going to put up points. I love it. I believe it. But we do not need running back by committee. The Cowboys need to decide on a running back. Not running backs. They need to decide on a running back. Running backs they're just like any other player. They need reps. They need carries. They need 15, 20. You need to choose the back. Who is going to be the main running back? If you're going to get 9 drives in a game, okay, so Jaden Blue, we'll give you 2 of those because you're already working in the passing game with us. So we'll give you 2 of those drives. But those other 7 drives, who is the bell cow back? Who's the bell cow? I just think it breaks up the fluidity when you start trying to do the running back by committee. There's a certain way you have to work that. And one of those running backs, he's just got to be the one. He's just got to be the one. And Daniel M., you ask a good question. Daniel M. asked me, he says, I'm not sure we need another running back though. But, and I don't know if it's necessarily a need, but if you get the opportunity, upgrade at the running back position. Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders. I'm just being 100% honest. Y'all tell me what y'all think. But when I saw that they got Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders, I would have rather the Cowboys keep Rico Dowdle. I'm 100% keeping it real. I would have rather the Cowboys keep Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle was 1,000-yard wide receiver. 1,000-yard running back last year, and Rico Dowdle had they started out the beginning of the year letting Rico Dowdle be the main back. I'm telling y'all, Rico Dowdle would have probably ran for around 1,400 to 1,500 yards. Probably would have had about 5 or 6 touchdowns. And Rico Dowdle, I'm telling you, Rico Dowdle would have got a way bigger contract than he got this year. I would have rather kept Rico Dowdle. Javonte Williams coming off injury, Miles Sanders, kind of a throwaway from the Carolina Panthers. They're okay. They're placeholders. If the Cowboys can upgrade at the running back position, upgrade. Upgrade until you bring Phil Maffa along. I'm not sold. Again, I'm not sold on the Miles Sanders. I'm not sold on that stuff people been talking about with Miles Sanders. I'm not sold on the OTA stuff. I'm not sold on it. No, I'm not talking about an addition to the running back room. I'm talking about either Javonte Williams or Miles Sanders getting up out of here. Deuce Vaughn is already I think he's going to be a casualty already. If you can upgrade your running back room from Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams, do it. Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams. I know we're Cowboys fans and we embrace everybody we get. Javonte Williams, nobody was checking for Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders. There were way better running backs out there. And if the Cowboys get the opportunity, if there is a better running back that shakes from one of these teams, somewhere here doing this as we get into, now we're going to get into in the training camp, and there are some teams that start cutting some of these running backs post June 1st cuts, and they're better than Javonte, get them. The Cowboys are already telling you what they thought about him. They only gave him $1 million contracts? Upgrade. Because I'm telling us, Jaden Blue is going to be a Tony Pollard upgrade. That's what Jaden Blue is. The Cowboys are not looking at Jaden Blue as the bell cow back. They're looking at Jaden Blue as, hey man, we're going to be able to use you running the ball in out of the backfield. I would rather the Cowboys upgrade that running back room and start bringing Phil Maffa along so Phil Maffa can eventually become that bell cow back. Now, again, maybe Miles Sanders or Javonte Williams can do that, and maybe the Cowboys just say, that's the plan. But I'm just telling you, I would have rather kept Rico. I would have rather kept Rico than both of them. I'd have rather kept both of them. Ice Cold, he said facts are Dowdle over them. I would have straight up kept Rico over them. I would have kept Rico over both of them. Davion Wallace said, I disagree. Rico is an okay back. Gee, Javonte better upside to me, and Blue is good. Blue, again, Blue is not going to be the bell cow back. I think Phil Maffa works his way into the bell cow back. We don't have to worry about Jaden Blue. Again, I'm telling you, the Cowboys are going to use him in the run game and the pass game. He is the upgraded Tony Pollard. The issue is, who's going to be our new Zeke? Who's going to be our new Zeke? And that's why I'm telling us, I think if the Cowboys get the opportunity, they're going to upgrade the running back position. I will not be shocked if they do it. I will not be shocked if they do it. If somebody shakes down and the Cowboys get the opportunity to get him, they're going to get him. You watch what I tell you. You watch what I tell you. Ice Cold Cowboy, Rico Dowdle got a good shampoo contract from Swap. Man, yeah. Morris Newton said Jaden Blue could end up being another Preston Pearson for the Cowboys. Yeah, I remember Preston Pearson. Yeah, he was nasty. And I do think Jaden Blue, again, he's going to be Tony Pollard on steroids. Way faster than Tony Pollard. Way faster. Yeah, way faster. Daniel says if you cut Williams and Sanders, then you're left with Blue, Maffa, and Vaughn. Maybe, again, you keep one of them. I don't think both. This is just me. I wouldn't be surprised if both of them don't make it. But both of them, maybe they will. But somebody got to go. Y'all know the Cowboys like these running backs they draft. As much as we think that Deuce Vaughn could be the one that gets cut, who knows? The Cowboys, maybe they could cut one of them. I've even heard people talking about the Cowboys cutting Phil Maffa. And I think if the Cowboys do that, it'd be a huge mistake. I think it'd be a huge mistake. But I do think the Cowboys, if they get the opportunity, they are going to upgrade at the running back position. I do. And why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they if they can? Go ahead and upgrade. Suge Midnight, what's going on? He said same. He said, I really thought they were going to keep Rico. He was a solid back. Rico with this new coaching staff, changing the O-line, healthy Dak and CD Pickens combo, Rico would have ate. Hey, straight up. And Suge, think about this. This dude didn't even start out as the number one back and got 1,200 yards. What was it? Was it close to 1,200 or somewhere in there? 1,100 yards? I'm telling us. And I do believe Johnny Blue said he agreed 100%. I think if the Cowboys get the opportunity, they're going to upgrade at the running back position. I do.
I have questions for Brian Schottenheimer specifically because everywhere, there's always the antics and the drama about coaches in Dallas and how they're hired and what kind of control they have and all those things. But Brian Schottenheimer's been a coordinator everywhere. Not only that, his offenses have not been stellar. So I'm very curious.
This is the great mystery, dude. Like
I don't know how that translates directly, but the offensive line, as you asked originally, the talent's there, the girth is there. I keep saying that, sorry, but they're big. I mean, and so they're gonna be.
They have a type.
They have a type. They're gonna be physically imposing, and so Dak loves that. I know. They're gonna cram it down your throat, and so. But what does that lead to on the back end? What does that look like with the rest of the offense and production throughout a whole season?
The Schottenheimer thing is like
I do disagree with him on Brian Schottenheimer not being stellar. I kind of disagree with him on that point. I want y'all to think about Ben Johnson. For as successful as Ben Johnson was, Ben Johnson, if I'm not mistaken, well, we know he didn't get to the Super Bowl. Ben Johnson, I don't remember Detroit. Let me see, I'm trying to think, but I don't think Detroit got to the did the Detroit Lions get to the NFC Championship game with under Ben Johnson? Maybe once they might have got there. But I'm saying all that to say this. Brian Schottenheimer was actually incredible with the Seattle Seahawks. Brian Schottenheimer was incredible. I mean, they were off the chain game. And in one of those years, I can't remember the year it was like a fluke play that kept them out of, that kept the Seahawks either out of the NFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. It was a crazy called play. But nevertheless, I mean, when you think about Brian Schottenheimer, he did, maybe I'm crazy, but I thought he did extremely well with the Seattle Seahawks. He showed year-over-year progression. Brian Schottenheimer is one of those coaches that, it always baffles my mind when coaches get fired for winning. They get fired for winning. They get fired because they don't get to the championship games, but they actually win regular season, maybe win a playoff game, here or there. Maybe there's something to stop them from winning another playoff game. You think about how this was the thing about Mike McCarthy, when Mike McCarthy was here, and when we think about Kellen Moore. Do y'all realize Kellen Moore got fired for winning? Kellen Moore got fired for winning. He was winning. Kellen Moore. The Cowboys go against the San Francisco 49ers. Tony Pollard breaks his leg in the second quarter. Tony Pollard was going to be a huge part of the offense. The Cowboys didn't have the necessary adjustments, even though when the second half rolled around, the Cowboys still fought really hard and still had an opportunity to win that game despite everything that went on. And you let go of Kellen Moore? How do you get fired for winning? Pete Carroll, he let go of Brian Schottenheimer because Brian Schottenheimer was too aggressive. Brian Schottenheimer with the Seahawks was what? 10-6, 11-5, and then 12-4. And you get fired? That's crazy work. Now, Kellen Moore didn't get fired. He left the Cowboys, but they were still basically ready to push him out. I'm not buying the part about him saying Brian Schottenheimer wasn't successful. I'm not buying that. Brian Schottenheimer's actually looked pretty good because Brian Schottenheimer, even with the Jets, Brian Schottenheimer was able to help that team go to the AFC Championship game. And it was at that time that his name was in the hat. I mean, he could have been a head coach way back when. Now, I think some of the stuff in between, probably a little bit up and down, but man, Shotty was kind of on a roll. And even when you look at the 2023 season for the Dallas Cowboys, now we know that was Brian Schottenheimer in implementing some of those wrinkles. I'm not agreeing with him on the thing about Schottenheimer not being, not being stellar. No, I think we're gonna see a Brian Schottenheimer that I don't think anybody has seen. Brian Schottenheimer. I want y'all to think about this, and then we're gonna play some more of this. I want y'all to think about this. We've seen Brian Schottenheimer under other coaches. We've never seen Brian Schottenheimer unleashed. We've never seen him unleashed. Pete Carroll put a governor on him. Him and Russell Wilson, he had Russell Wilson, man, they were going off the chain with Russell Wilson. That was Pete Carroll who stepped in and said, hey, dial it back. Dial it back. Now we're going to see Brian Schottenheimer with nobody to tell him to dial back anything. Now we're going to see Brian Schottenheimer doing whatever he want to do. Whatever he want to do. Nobody going to stop him. We're going to see, I'm telling you. And I agree with Mina Kimes on this part. He is the big question mark because we don't know what this man going to be with no governor. Carlos Phillips says, I don't like his shoddy point. I don't either. That's the one I'm rebutting. He said he's using the same points everyone on the television network has said. He can't prove that Shoddy can't do it because this is Shoddy first year. And again, Carlos, hey, this dude was off the chain with the Seahawks. I don't care what anybody says. This dude was off the chain with the Seahawks. And it was Pete Carroll to put the governor on it. Because Pete Carroll don't mind, and this is one of the things I don't like about Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll likes these bend don't break defenses. He likes that stuff. He don't mind playing the close games. He don't mind winning by 3, 2, 1. He don't mind the close. No. We don't want no more of that stuff. I told y'all the last live stream. I'm different than most folks. I want the Dallas Cowboys to obliterate teams. I want them to defensively destroy teams, and I want them to put up 30 and 40 points a game if they can. Obliterate teams. Don't let nothing be close. Don't let nothing come down to 3 points no more. Don't let nothing come down to the last drive no more. I want Dak Prescott, if possible, by mid-fourth quarter. Hey, Joe Milton III, come on in. Get you some reps, man. Get you some reps because the game is over. I'm telling us, I don't think we know what Brian Schottenheimer is going to be without a governor. This man has had a governor on him. Who's going to tell him what to call now? This man gets to call anything he wants to. Anything he wants to do, he's going to be able to do it. I do not agree with that Brian Schottenheimer take. Schottenheimer going to be able to do anything he want to do now. Y'all watch what I tell you. Dak Prescott, Schottenheimer going to go nuts. I'm telling you. Jared Thomas, appreciate that super chat. In order to, Jared says, in order to replicate what Shotty did in Seattle, we need our version of Marshawn Lynch. We're going to be a different version of this. I don't think he's going to replicate what he did in Seattle. I don't think he's going to replicate it. I don't think he's going to try to replicate it. Because he's got something that he never had in Seattle. He never had 2 DK Metcalfs. He never had 2 DK Metcalfs, Jared Thomas. Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, they're not even close in my book. They're not even close to CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. I'm sorry. If I'm the offensive coordinator, and I got CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, it's over. It is over out there for defenses. It's over. I'm going to have those I'm telling you, I'm going to have those cornerbacks. They're going to be, man, they're going to have their hands on their knees, breathing hard. I'm going to have CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens down that field so much on them, boy, their head going to spin. I'm telling you, I guarantee you, Brian Schottenheimer, man, he's salivating over what he can make his offense look like with those 2 wide receivers. I've already showed y'all this before. When Brian Schottenheimer got DK Metcalf, the offense changed. The offense changed. And with the weapons Brian Schottenheimer has, shoot, I'm telling you, we don't know what this man gonna be. We don't know what this man gonna be. We don't know what he's gonna be. Poobie D said he did good with the Rams. Yeah, I don't agree with this guy, Lenny, man. He kind of tripping on this because I'm telling you, Brian Schottenheimer without a governor, who knows what this man going to be? D. Mills said Phil Maffa is going to be a beast. I think so, too. Jaden Blue is going to be a beast. I think so, too. He said also they just need to get together and not have too much of a rotation. Like you said, it messes up the continuity of the offense. No doubt, man. I'm really hoping. I'm hoping that Phil Maffa go off in the preseason. I hope Phil Maffa go off so hard in the preseason, the Cowboys say either Javonte Williams or Miles Sanders, we're going to let you go. Phil Maffa going to be our man. I really want the Cowboys, if they don't upgrade at the running back position, I want the Cowboys to go with the young back. I do. I want them to go with the young back. I do. Randy McIntyre, he said, you want to make this defense great. Jeffrey Simmons. Yeah, you talking about getting, Jeffrey Simmons. You know, and for me, and they're going to talk about this in just a moment. They've been talking about the offense for the most part. But for me, the part that I really think the Cowboys need to really do is I think the Cowboys really they still need to continue to build up the defense. The one thing I know the Cowboys are going to be able to do, the Cowboys are going to be able to rush the passer. Undoubtedly. I am not going to be surprised if the Cowboys have the best, if not the top 3 best pass rushing team in the league. It's inevitable. It is literally inevitable. Micah Parsons, also Diggy Zua is an up the field defensive tackle. Donovan Ezeraku, Dante Fowler. And don't even let me forget Sam Williams. Sam Williams, if Sam does even half of what Sam been talking about, Sam's going to be incredible for the Cowboys as they go on this Super Bowl run. He's going to be incredible. Sam Williams is going to be incredible. Our only issue, the question we need to ask is, can we stop the run? Now, again, I'm going to show you something here in this live stream where when you look at the defense of one Matt Eberflus, I know a lot of us have been talking about the one tech, but the Matt Eberflus defense is not predicated on the one tech. It's predicated on the 3 tech. At least that's what I found in my research, and I'll show that to you here in just a moment. My man Bleeding Blue, what's going on? Appreciate that super chat. All right, let's hear the rest of this. What's going on, Rod? Good to see you. All right, let's hear the rest of this. Yeah, but I do not agree with his take on Brian Schottenheimer.
Great mystery here. I can't remember what show it was, but somebody was saying, well, Brian Schottenheimer loves to run the ball. And I thought, well, we don't know that, actually.
Nope.
Because,
I think that's
it's
mythology.
varied so much at different spots. We'll go back to Seattle. I think that's what they're thinking of. But Brian Schottenheimer was the architect of let Russ cook. And then Pete Carroll stepped in and said, this is not working right now.
Put a governor on him.
Reasons for that were justified. But it wasn't his decision to go back to running the football. I think there's still some questions about who Brian Schottenheimer is as a play caller, who he is, what he's going to do with this offense. When he was hired, he gave his press conference where he talked about how he wanted to modernize it and he wanted to use more motion and this and that. Okay, cool. I've actually kind of said, pause. I want to see.
Bronx Bombers at the crib. He says Shotty is no Sirianni. Bronx, hey, you know what? We don't know what he is. Hey, and I'll give you this. Of course he's not Sirianni. He might be better than Sirianni. I haven't heard anybody talking about Sirianni building a culture. The Dallas Cowboys is the greatest sports franchise in the world. If Brian Schottenheimer wins a Super Bowl, I'm telling y'all, if Brian Schottenheimer wins a Super Bowl in Dallas, and I think he's going to win a Super Bowl in Dallas, Brian Schottenheimer is going down in history as one of the greatest coaches. I guarantee you people will be saying he's one of the greatest coaches ever. I guarantee you. You win a Super Bowl in Dallas? Nah, he gonna be one of the greatest. They gonna tell this man he one of the greatest Super Bowls ever. He's one of the greatest coaches ever. Matt D, he said, "Give me Miss Kai's phone number." He said, "Give me the Kai's my phone number." Oh man. Oh man. But again, I'm telling us, the Cowboys are on the brink of really doing some great things.
What this looks like.
Sure.
But he has good pieces to work with, starting, of course, with those two. We haven't even talked about the quarterback. I mean, Dak Prescott, he struggled at the beginning of last season. There was a few reasons for that. He's had a lot of injuries. He's 2 years removed from being one of the 3 best quarterbacks in football. I think we know who he is at this point in his career.
Yeah.
Aggressive, accurate, not super mobile. There's certain parts of the field he likes working. I think just,
From brake pads in Orange County, Florida.
This is like coming from Mina Kimes, boy. It's amazing how she talks on her own show. And I've even said this about Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith on the Stephen A. Smith show versus Stephen A. Smith Stephen A. Smith on his own show. Stephen A. Smith is totally different. And Mina Kimes don't seem to be any different. She talks a lot different on her own show.
With Dak Prescott. And I think this is certainly the best receiver group, even compared to like when Gallup was great. This is an unbelievable duo.
Yeah, it's not even close.
I may be overbuying it, but I'll be interested in seeing how George Pickens responds to being around like a dude, because he just hasn't been with a guy like CeeDee Lamb,
Yeah, you wonder kind of how that has affected his temperament of just having, there's alpha in the room already. So you can kind of go wear your shiesty, go do your thing. But when the ball comes on 3rd and 7, back shoulder, I just need you to pluck it. I need you to win the jump.
Motivate.
That's it. Yeah.
Contract. Okay, defensively, I think there's some changes.
This is really where there are the most questions about the Dallas Cowboys. Honestly, the offense, I just don't think the offense is where we need to be questioning as much. I mean, we got questions with Guyton, but it seems like the Guyton is on the right track. A lot of people are pretty confident in Guyton. But for the most part, if the Cowboys get Guyton and Steele going, for everything else, I think we're saying that even if the Cowboys, if Javonte Williams is a starting running back, I don't think anybody's going to cry about it. If Miles Sanders is a starting running back, I don't think anybody's going to cry about it. Phil Maffa is the starting running back. I think everybody's going to be excited. And again, they did not get Jaden Blue. I do not think they got Jaden Blue to be a bell cow back. I think they got him to be the Tony Pollard back, the guy who's going to get you probably 10 to 15 touches a game. You're going to get him in space. You're going to get him one-on-one. He's going to make big plays. He's going to be your home run hitter. So the Cowboys, for the most part, though, we're just looking at the offense going, it just needs some tweaking. I think the biggest question for the Cowboys is defensively. It is no doubt to me defensively. Most of us are questioning, like, what are they going to look like on defense? The question is, will the Cowboys be able to stop the run? Because it seems nobody's been able to do it. Garrett couldn't do it. McCarthy couldn't do it. Will Brian Schottenheimer, Matt Eberflus, will they be able to stop the run? Because if they can stop the run, I'm going to go out on 3 limbs. If the Dallas Cowboys can stop the run this year, the Cowboys are going to run for the Super Bowl. You can book it. If they can stop the run, they're going to run for the Super Bowl. Not being able to stop the run is what has killed the Dallas Cowboys. Because they can't stop the run, then they try to run single high safety. They try to play close to the line, and then they get burned down the field. They gave up big plays. And so when you're doing that, man, you can't, man, I'm telling you, if you can't stop the run in this league, you ain't going nowhere. I don't care how good your offense is. You're not going nowhere. You're not going anywhere if you cannot stop the run. And so if the Cowboys can stop the run, they're going far. They're going far. And that's really our biggest question for this team. Can they or will they be able to stop the run? If they can stop the run, because we already know they're going to be able to run the ball. They're going to be able to throw the ball. If they can stop the run, the Cowboys are going to go far. I think they're going very far.
Here with Dallas, DeMarcus Lawrence is gone, so you're looking at an edge opposite Micah Parsons of either Marshawn Nealon, who was their second-round pick last year.
DeMarcus Lawrence is not going to be a loss.
Or Donovan Ezeraku was the guy they picked this year. He's a very technically refined, undersized pass rusher. Dante Fowler from the Commanders, by the way. He was decent last year. Opposite Micah Parsons. Inside, it's still Mozzie Smith and
Now, she said Dante Fowler was decent, and if I'm not mistaken, Dante Fowler got 10-plus sacks. But you know the part that she didn't mention? Let's let her keep mentioning these players. Y'all tell me, who is the player? Who is the player that she is failing to mention defensively that is going to probably have a huge season this year?
Digizua, who got paid. The linebacker group, they overhauled. It's still not great.
Better than what they had.
Kenneth Murray Jr.
That deals, yeah.
Yeah. Jack Sanborn, who I'm telling you is going to play because he was decent in Chicago. Corner group is really tricky because there's so many guys coming off of injuries. Actually, there was more holes than I thought when I was looking at it because I was like, I don't like Trevon Diggs. What's his status? Deron Bland, is he going to play inside or outside? They did draft another guy coming off of an injury, and Siobhan Revel Jr. I don't even know who the nickel is. Maybe Bland, maybe Israel Mukwamu. And then the defensive coordinator is a big change. Matt Eberflus. I'm going to start with the I think just the question you have to start with this Cowboys defense.
Yeah. Again, I think this is the biggest question for the Cowboys. I really do. I think the defense is the biggest question for the Cowboys. Now, again, there's a name that she did not mention, and I think this dude is going to be an X factor for the Cowboys. Poobie D? Poobie D mentions Peyton Turner and Solomon Thomas. I think they're going to be solid, especially in the run game. I think the player she forgot to mention was Sam Williams. Sam Williams is queuing up, guys, for a monster season. I really do believe that Sam Williams is getting ready for a monster season. If there is one thing the Cowboys are going to be able to do, the Cowboys are going to be able to rush the passer. There is no doubt in my mind. The Cowboys will be one of the top pass rushing teams in the league. I will not be surprised if they're top 5 in sacks. I will not be surprised if they're top 5 in turnovers. I will not be surprised if the Cowboys, as it pertains anything to do with pass rushing, the Cowboys are going to be spectacular. You watch what I tell you. Everybody's talking about Jaden Daniels. The Cowboys, the way they're built with their pass rush, they're going to eat his lunch. They are going to eat Jaden Daniels' lunch. They're going to take it and they're going to eat it right in front of him. The only way he's going to run against the Cowboys, he's going to have to run up against Oso Digizua. Jalen Hurts, you watch what I tell you. Now, Jalen Hurts is a different type of runner. Jalen Hurts likes to kind of scoot. He'll scoot through the gaps. He'll get you in those A and B gaps. He'll get you in there in the middle. But as far as any outside stuff, he won't have a chance. He will not have a chance. The question for the Cowboys, will they be able to stop the run? Will they be able to stop the run? They're going to be one of the top pass rushing teams in the league. The other issue is, what will their secondary look like? What will the secondary look like? There are going to be teams that will probably be able to match up against the Cowboys, and they will probably be able to get some time to throw the ball. And when they get time to throw the ball, What are the Cowboys going to look like in the secondary? I'm not worried about DeRon Bland. Even though DeRon Bland does take some chances, I'm not worried about DeRon Bland. What I'm worried about more than anything is our safety play. I'm worried about our safety play. I think Savon Revel Jr. will be healthy by the beginning of the season. Kyer Elam is going to be good for us. Wanye Thomas is probably going to work himself in somewhere. But again, the question is, what is our secondary going to look like? Our defense has the biggest questions. Our defense has the biggest questions. The Cowboys went and loaded up at defensive end. They're good. Contrary to what she says, I think they improved at linebacker. Don't forget, we also still have Damone Clark. Our biggest questions are, will Mozzie Smith take another step? And what is our starting cornerback? Who's going to be our starting cornerbacks? And what is that going to look like until Trayvon Diggs get back? And then what is Trayvon Diggs going to look like when he comes back? So our biggest issue right now is defense. And for me, that's the part I really want the Cowboys to improve the most. Offenses score points, defense wins championships all day long. Roger Adams says, G, you only need 58.8 yards rushing in 17 games. Rico Dowdle can't hold a candle to a whole to a whole school of Cowboy backs. But again, Roger Adams, I don't want the running back by committee. It don't work. It just don't work. Running backs need work. They need reps. They need to get warmed up. They need to get into a flow of a game. It don't work. They tried to do it. What was it? They tried to do it last year. It didn't work. They tried to do it before with Pollard and Zeke. It just didn't work. You got to go with one or the other. Somebody has got to be the bell cow, and somebody's got to be, maybe you get a couple of a series a game, and then we work you in certain situations. That's how you got to work those backs. Similar to the way that the Detroit Lions kind of work their two running backs with Detroit, but somebody got to be the bell cow. Yeah, Robert Dudley, he said, I like Marshawn Nealon. He's the new DeMarcus Lawrence. He's going to help us in the run, for sure. Roger says, pump the brakes. I've been a Cowboy fan since 77. He said, I've been around a long time. Let's just wait for free season and go from there because we don't know. Well, right now we're just prognosticating it. I mean, we're just looking at it on paper, Roderick. But if everything stays the same, the Cowboys are going to be nasty. There's no doubt about it. Because the reason why we can say the Cowboys are going to be good offensively, because Dak Prescott has been better with less. Dak Prescott has been better with less. So we know Dak going to do his thing. Robert Simmons says that the Commanders tried to call Jones for a trade of Micah for Terry and Jones hook up the phone. Yeah, I've been hearing some crazy stuff about Micah Parsons and this trade stuff, but it's definitely not going to happen. Again, let's check out the rest of this, and then we'll check out some other things to go with it. Davion says Sam Williams got to make them know his name. That's what he said. He said his time to shine. We will see. It's absolutely. USMC in the crib, what's going on with you? He said, I'm worried that they're constantly going to keep Parsons on the line. USMC, this is the big thing for me. Matt Eberflus also likes to play 4 down linemen. My biggest concern is, can Micah Parsons play in that style of defense where he has to play traditional defensive, a traditional defensive end? Because if I'm a team and Micah Parsons is out there, I'm running right at him. All day long, I'm going to run right at him. I'm going to run right at him all day long. Straight up, I'm running at him all day long. The Cowboys, to me, have got to be smarter with Micah Parsons. Use him as a chess piece. I say on early downs, maybe you line him up at linebacker. Maybe you go 4-3. And then on third down, or maybe you get a second and long, then you move him on the line as a pass rusher. Brian Worley, appreciate you. He said, #1 show on YouTube. Appreciate you. All right, let's rock with this. Let's hear the rest of this. And I'll show you some stuff that I pulled up on this too.
Do you think there's any chance they'll be better at stopping the run?
Yeah, just because they were basically at the bottom. And
Okay.
so there's only where to go is up. I mean, they, rushing yards allowed, they were, I think, 29th per game. Touchdown.
Now his logic to me is his logic to me is thrown. He's saying that the Cowboys are going to be better at stopping the run because they were so bad last year. I mean, that's a terrible way to look at this.
They were dead last. And it was a sneaky bad unit. I mean, yeah, they were 7-10 at shows, but they were just a sieve.
Very injured last year.
Very injured. So
yeah, a lot of the guys I mentioned.
Overshown injury really it
sucks because he would be such a answer to so many problems.
Yeah.
If you're a man over 30 who makes at least 150.
The ghost of Mike McCarthy says if Michael can't do his part to help the defensive line stop the run, then that 60% tendency of opposing teams running Michael's way will be up to 70 to 75% before the 25 season is over. Yeah, I mean, Brian Broaddus showed us, man, 60% of the runs against the Dallas Cowboys were on the outside. 60% of the runs on the outside. And I believe that what the Cowboys are going to be able to put on the other side is it pertains to between Nealon, Peyton Turner. I mean, what they're going to be able to put over there, Dante Fowler. I mean, what they're going to be able to put on the opposite side of Micah Parsons, I think they're going to be fine against the run. The question is, will the Cowboys say, we're not going to line Micah Parsons up on the left side of the field anymore and let teams run at him? We got to put somebody over there who can help us in the run game, and let's move Micah Parsons to the linebacker position in the early downs so that maybe he can help more with pursuit rather than getting caught up in scrums where they're saying, okay, Micah Parsons is lined up over on our right side, on his left side, so we're going to run at him, put a tight end over there, so we'll let the right tackle and the tight end maul him at the point of attack. That's how we got hurt last year. We don't want that. So the Cowboys, what they're going to need to do with their new $40 million man is you're going to have to move him around so that offensives don't get their hands on him and he can take advantage of his speed and power versus them neutralizing him because he's undersized.
Yeah, you're playing chicken with your franchise edge rusher, which is
they'll pay him.
I mean, as we speak, every second he's just getting richer, but it doesn't make sense. But okay, so yeah,
for the run defense,
the Eberflus effect, I think, will have some positive impact on this defense.
Go on.
They, for the longest time, they were always just 4 down front. When I played, I was with the Giants in the division. They had Monty Kiffin and stuff, but they were always a 4 down front, and they like to move. And they used DeMarcus Lawrence. They used maybe lighter bodies inside they called it a pirate stunt. They crash the 3 technique at the end and they bring a linebacker around. They're trying to fill gaps. And then they transition into, hey, we're just going to play kind of a straight 4 down front and we're going to move Micah Parsons around. Use him as like a pass rushing weapon, like a hammer. The Eberflus influence, I think, is going to, make them really more gap sound. And which is going to allow, I think, just predictability because you just didn't know what gaps guys were in last year. And that led to so many explosive plays. I think they have been lacking in size. I think you alluded to Mozzie Smith needs to kind of step up, but I think he is what he is at this point. But I think at the very least, if they play more sound in the interior, that's going to allow them to just be in manageable 3rd down scenarios. And so that gives you a chance to get off the field. They just couldn't get themselves off the field. And that was something that you're just like, you're pulling your hair out because, yeah, they had a lot of injuries, but there was a lot of self-inflicted things that they did to themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm with your creative edge. That's why I didn't agree with them as far as the linebackers went because actually I think that's the second best place the Cowboys improved. I think the Cowboys improved tremendously on the edge, And I also think they improved tremendously at the linebacker position. I mean, we got to see what it looks like on the field, but it's got to be better than what last year was. It has got to be better. I just think automatically it's going to be better than what they had last year. So I'm with you on the linebacking play. Yeah, I think the linebacking play linebacker play for the Cowboys, man, it's going to be leaps. Creative edge, it's going to be leaps and bounds better. And this dude, Sanborn, I'm telling you, man, I read the articles, the Chicago Bears, the local media, when it came to Sanborn, they were livid. They were livid that the Chicago Bears didn't put a third-round tender on it. He was that good. He was that good. He can play. He can definitely play. They improved at linebacker. And again, who's to say Damone Clark don't play better this year? Maybe Damone Clark works his way onto the field. Quinn Scott says we need to figure out is putting Mike out of harm's way. They need to move him around. Exactly. And use his instincts to create press on the outside and inside. They're going to have to. I just don't think you can line him up traditionally as just a traditional defensive end. You can't do it. They're going to have to move him around. They got to move him around situationally. Have to move him around. So again, I just don't see how. I don't think. And again, I do think this is what Eberflus is probably going to do with Micah. I think he's going to find a way to move him around.
I think the case for the run defense being better does start with Matt Eberflus doing a better job of coaching some of these players, the linebackers in particular. Again, it's not a group of world beaters. But Jack Sanborn in the Bears defense was actually pretty good before he got kind of edged out because they paid some guys who were also good. But
I'm telling you,
that could kind of be what this all hinges on to me. Speaking of the Eberflus defense, I do like Osa Digizoa, who's been very good for them. He's a really good pass rusher.
Yeah.
I think has the opportunity, Eberflus defense has always had really good pass, not always, but the really stud pass rushing 3-tech is such an important part of their 4-down front.
See, that's what I found in my research. I was shocked to find this out, but Eberflus depends heavily on his 3-tech. We've been screaming 1-tech, but Eberflus depends heavily on his 3-tech. His 3-tech is pivotal. I'm going to show you. I got a couple of articles on it, I think. I'm going to see if I can dig them up. But Eberflus's defense is predicated on that 3-tech. He really depends on that 3-tech to be, very, very versatile. And so we've been screaming Mozzie. But also Odigizua is going to be huge in the Eberflus plan. He's going to be huge in the Eberflus plan. Let's finish this, and then I'm going to show you some of the stuff I pulled up.
And you go back to Indianapolis, for example, with Buckner, and I think Osa could be really, really important to them.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
I also think, one of these other edge rushers, so DeMarcus Lawrence barely played last year. Marshawn Nealon was injured. So, and then all the corners were injured. If one of these guys, Ezeraku, who I liked a lot, Micah Parsons is so outrageously double-teamed all the time.
Yeah.
There's such opportunity here.
But you know what? Context, and we really need to talk about the context of Micah Parsons. The reason why he is double-teamed so much. One, he's great. So let us not discount that. But can I give you the logic of number two? He's been the only defensive player on the team you have to worry about. Why wouldn't you double team him? He's literally the only player, similar to Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. What did the Green Bay Packers do to Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb? Take away CeeDee Lamb. Y'all don't find it strange that in four playoff games now, Micah Parsons has 1 sack? Why do you think that is? He's not only been the best, he's been the only almost player on the team that can make plays defensively. So what do teams do to him? Take him out of the game by double teaming him. We keep talking about how teams are not going to be able to double team CeeDee Lamb. Have we not figured out they're not going to be able to double Micah Parsons as much anymore? Donovan Ezraku, Dante Fowler. They're going to take care of that. I promise you. Dante Fowler, Donovan Ezraku, and Sam Williams. They're going to take care of the fact of Micah Parsons. We talk, a lot of people, they throw this out here like Micah Parsons. This is not a shot at Micah Parsons. But people talk about Micah Parsons in a light like he's so absolutely dominant. When the reality is, go check the tape on the big games. Go check the tape on the games down in the season. Check the tape in the playoffs. Has anybody not wondered why he's not effective? Because those teams are better as you get down the stretch. Teams are better in the playoffs. They have better right tackles that sometimes can go, as much as we say get double teamed. When they play some of the better teams, they go one-on-one. And when we start talking about the 52 sacks in 4 seasons, well, I got news for us. As crazy as Colin Cowherd is, Colin Cowherd pointed out some things about this thing with Micah Parsons. Do we not realize that a huge amount of the sacks that Micah Parsons has is against below-level teams? Now, we talk bad. People talk bad about Dak Prescott. And Mina Kimes is one of these people that have talked so bad about Dak Prescott, when it comes to him and what he does against, quote-unquote, what she calls subpar teams. But never do they talk like this about Micah Parsons. But if you go back and check his record, and all of that is not his fault. And let me say that part. All of that is not his fault. But some of the Micah Parsons stuff is because he's been the only effective player, the only effective playmaker on the Cowboys defensive line. And a lot of teams, they keep it very simple. Take him out of the game. You take Micah Parsons out of the game, the Cowboys were done on defense. They were basically done. So it makes sense. They won't be doing that this year, I promise you. They're not going to have the opportunity to do that this year. And I will not be surprised if there is a new sack leader on this team this year. I will not be surprised if there's a new sack leader. Cowboys are doing for Micah Parsons exactly what they did for Dak Prescott. They're getting him players. Same thing they did for CeeDee Lamb. They got him another wide receiver. Taking some of the load off of him. Stopping teams from double teaming him. They're not going to be able to do that with Parsons this year. And especially since I believe the Cowboys are probably going to move him around. This in itself should help the Cowboys be a lot better. It should absolutely help them be a lot better. But again, some of the talk about Micah Parsons, I think it does need to be put into context. It does need to be put into context because I've said this over and over and over, and y'all have heard me say it. Dominant players need great players around them. A dominant player, he can dominate at his position. But he can't dominate the game if you don't have great players around him. You got to free him up so he can be absolutely dominant. And that's why I say some of the stuff with Micah Parsons, people talk about Micah Parsons like the reason why they're double teaming him is because he's so great. That's a part of it. But they've also been double teaming him because he's the only player on the Cowboys defense. That's an X factor. And so a lot of teams come against the Cowboys and say, okay, this is easy work. The way we're going to defeat the Cowboys is we're going to take Micah Parsons out of the game. He's an undersized edge rusher. So what are we going to do with the Cowboys? We're going to run at their edges. We'll run at Micah Parsons. We'll run at their edges. We'll double team him on the outside. If he tries to rush the passer, okay, we'll put a tight end out there. We'll chip him. We'll chip him with the running back. We'll double team him with the tight end and the right tackle. This is why when you see those big games, Micah isn't as effective because everyone else on the defense, you can just go one-on-one. They'll even take their chances with Oso Digizua rather than Micah Parsons. Because as much as Osa gets upfield, you buy yourself some time or you step up in the pocket, get away from Oso Digizua and do whatever you do. But that's going to change this year because the Cowboys have shown enough pass rushers. The Cowboys got shown enough pass rushers now. So some of this stuff we talk about with Micah Parsons, we're not going to be saying this stuff no more. We're just not going to be saying this stuff no more. There's a reason why when you get overall good defenses, you don't hear these type of stats. Because teams have to start picking their poison according to whatever the situation is. Because if you look at really the best edge rusher in the league over the last 3 to 4 seasons is Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett has actually been the most dominant. So why isn't Myles Garrett getting all these double teams? Myles Garrett has actually had some good players on his line playing with him. He's actually had some good players on his line playing with him. And so you don't get to double team Myles Garrett as much. They're terrible. They're terrible overall, but Myles Garrett has been absolutely dominant. Been the same thing with Nick Bosa. You want to know why Nick Bosa don't get all the double teams that Micah Parsons gets? Because Nick Bosa has had other players on the defense able to make plays. And so when you go against the San Francisco 49ers, you don't come in saying, hey, all we got to do is stop Nick Bosa and we stop the San Francisco defense. Not happening. Not happening. Philadelphia did the same thing last year. You couldn't play Philadelphia and say, the only thing we're going to do is stop Sweat. Nah, you're not going to just stop Sweat. You're going to have major problems. The Cowboys have made a concerted effort to put more pass rushers on this team. I'm telling us, the Cowboys, I'm not going to be surprised if they're top 3 pass rushing team in the league. The biggest question for us is will we be able to stop the run? Poobie D says the same thing. He says, if the only one they worried about, it's easy to scheme him. That's been the whole point. That's what a lot of people haven't been getting in this thing with Micah Parsons. All you had to do was scheme against Micah Parsons, and it was pretty much over. That was it. Jamal Listen, what's up? Appreciate that super chat. He said, man, this is some below average takes like we at the cookout or the barber shop or something. Gee, God bless. Listening to you is a breath of fresh air. Appreciate you, Jamal. Yeah. You can tell that some of the stuff that they're saying, they're just getting from other pundits. But, you know, when you kind of look at some of this stuff in totality, and I'm going to show you some stuff here in a moment about Matt Eberflus's defense and why I think that Micah Parsons, if Matt Eberflus gets to use Micah Parsons the way that he wants to, Micah Parsons is going to he's going to have an incredible season for the Cowboys. But again, don't nobody be disappointed. If Micah Parsons doesn't get the amount of sacks that he's had in the past, you know what that means? That Matt Eberflus's defense is working. Yeah, it means it's working. Because that means that there are other playmakers on the team. And that's really what you want. CeeDee Lamb might not have as many yards this year. You know what that means? You finally got another wide receiver. These are the types of things you want. These are the types of things you want. Poobie D said that's why they run at him. He's tired from being the only rusher. Chips on him and double team. Hey, Poobie D, that's how you play a guy like Michael Parsons. If he's the only player on the team, okay, he's the only player on the defense. All we got to do is stop him. We'll take our chances with everybody else. They're not going to be able to do that this year. They're not going to be able to do that this year. Cowboys have done a great job of putting other players around these players, these marquee players like Michael Parsons, CeeDee Lamb. They've done a great job with this. Absolute great job. So it's not going to be the same. And again, I'm going to show you some stuff about Eberflus's defenses that I found. Matt D said, I'm anxious to see Maffa. Me too. Holden and Barron in preseason. Yeah, me too. For sure. Creative Edge, he said, you right, G, facts. Roger Adams says, G, not just pass rushers, but big run stuffers at defensive tackle, 300-plus pounds in the middle. Yeah. And again, I'm very interested to see what does Mozzie do this year. You know, what kind of steps is he going to make? Let's finish this
for
review.
whoever gets to play opposite him. I do worry about, he was the second most double-teamed edge in the NFL, Michael Parsons. I do worry about all the injuries on the back end. I don't know even who Diggs is right now. I don't know.
Check this out. I'm going to show you how I afford.
Yeah, the thing with Diggs, we don't know what Diggs is injured or, we don't know what Diggs is even healthy. And again, I don't think Diggs is going to show up to around. Diggs might. I think Diggs could maybe show up a little bit before Thanksgiving, but I just think that I like the rehab that Diggs is doing. But I just pray that Diggs make sure he's 100% before he comes back. I do not want to see Diggs trying to come back early, trying to make the first game of the season, and then he's out there and he winds up injured again. And now, rather than us having the problem early in the season, we'll have a problem late in the season. Which, again, I don't necessarily know if it's going to be a problem, because if Savon Revel Jr. gets healthy, I think Savon Revel Jr. is going to be great. But I also think that Kyrie Elam is going to be great for the Cowboys too. I think Kyrie Elam is going to play himself into a contract, whether it be with the Cowboys or somebody else. Kyrie Elam is about to get a contract.
I hate to kind of say the same thing I said about the Commanders, but I think the best case for the Cowboys is that the offense scores 1 million points.
Yeah.
And that the defense gets to get after the quarterback.
I do not
I like
want
the Kyrie
this.
Elam signing. He was kind of on the up and up in Buffalo, and he has a lot of potential, but he's kind of going to get thrust into this thing right away, which could see your face.
I don't know about that one.
But
No, Kyrie Elam's going to be good.
yeah, but ultimately, if they can generate pass rush, that'll be less pressure, and then we'll see where the Deron Bland that led the league and
Yeah. Injured last year, but yeah,
we'll see.
2 years in a row, he had zillion interceptions.
Unbelievable, magnetism to the ball, which is funny. I've seen a lot of discourse about how do you judge corners just because the best corners don't get thrown to.
Yeah.
But a guy like Bland has so many balls come his way, and he's, to his credit, picking them off and deflecting them. But how do you judge the effectiveness of a corner if no one's going towards him? So it's just a fun macro conversation, but they definitely don't have a stud with Diggs not being back full health. But if they can generate some pass rush, that'll take a lot of pressure off them, especially early in the season. As you're kind of gearing up, offenses are generally behind defenses earlier in the season. So defenses have a lot, less to install. Younger players can kind of be injected into the defense and just you can put them in on third down and, hey, you do this, go see ball, hit ball. And that allows you to kind of, jump out on teams early in the season. So we'll see.
All right, Dallas Cowboys. Take a quick break, come back, and let's do the Giants next.
I thought she had some very interesting things to say. Let me read some of your comments, and then I'm going to show you some of the research that I did on Matt Eberflus, because the reality is, to me, I just think the biggest questions we have on this Dallas Cowboy football team, it is none other than the defense. Because I think, for the most part, if the Cowboys didn't do anything else on offense, I think most of us are pretty confident that the Cowboys are going to go into the season and they're going to Man, I'm telling you, Cowboys offense gonna be awesome. Dak has done way more with less. Do we not realize Dak has done more with less than this? Now they got him in all. I think they got him a better offensive line. We're gonna see what that develops into. The tight end room, Jake Ferguson should be able to come back and be healthy this year and be what he was the year before last. The wide receiver room, now that we got George Pickens, just tremendously improved the entire the entire wide receiver room. Tremendously improved. We got Jalen Tolbert back where I think his strength is, number 3 wide receiver. We got Kevontae Turpin, who's going to probably play some 3, mostly 4. We got Jaden Blue. He's going to be a way upgraded Jalen Tolbert. I mean, not Jalen Tolbert, but Tony Pollard. And then we're going to see which running back emerges, or does Phil Maffa fight his way to the top of the depth chart? Or do the Cowboys, maybe they see somebody in the preseason and maybe they make an upgrade. But nevertheless, I think the offense, I don't think none of us are worried. Offense is going to be incredible, I believe. The thing I think we're worried about is the defense. We have to see what the defense is. I'm going to read some of your comments, and then I'm going to pull up a couple of articles that I got about Matt Eberflus's defense. Roger Adams says, I compare CD and George to Harrison and Wayne of the Colts. Boy, that was a deadly duo right there. Absolutely deadly duo. Ice Cold says, stay healthy, take your times, Diggs. Ice Cold says so we can trade you later, because that's probably exactly what's going to happen. They're either going to trade him or let him go straight out next year. Now, the Ghost of Mike McCarthy, you make a very interesting comment. He said whether Diggs comes back early or late, it might not matter. He might still continue to be a problem out on the field nonetheless. And see, Matt Eberflus's defenses, they're also predicated on the cornerbacks being great tacklers. Trayvon Diggs struggled even when he was healthy. He struggled bad with tackling. You got to be able to tackle on this defense for Eberflus. If you can't tackle on this defense for Eberflus, it don't work. It don't work. Troy Dudley said, lining your speed, Michael, on the offensive line's best player is not smart football. Exactly. Bleeding Blue says, stopping the run should be a top priority for the defense going into training camp. Yes, sir. Kevin Edwards says, I'm not a Diggs fan. He eats off the defensive line. He eats off the defensive line like he's supposed to. If the line isn't having a good day, he won't either. Yeah. Ice Cold said 9 interceptions last time he was fully healthy. Bland. Yeah, I really want to see what Bland is, because this is a big deal for Bland, because it's contract season. DK said needed that physical wide receiver. Pickens talent-wise is great. Exactly. Bland is a slot corner, but he wants that bag. Yep. He wants that bag, and he probably gonna get it too. Ice Cold said we're gonna have average 30 points a game, and I do think we're probably gonna be something like that. I just don't want us to get comfortable like we have in the past, because we know our offense can score 30 plus points. We're letting the other team score 30 points also. Robert Dudley said our defensive tackle being one tech since defensive coordinator Rob Marinelli. And again, I'm going to show you some things about Matt Eberflus's defense. It's really predicated on the 3 tech. Lost in Translation said, with this cast of characters on offense, with this defense, we will average 40 points a game. Yeah, I believe we can probably score a lot of points. I just don't want that to be our mindset, because I believe if that's our mindset, I think that the defense may sometimes say, well, our offense got it. No, we need a defense that's going to be able to shut teams down. DK says Guyton needs to make that big step. My opinion, should have left Smith at left tackle. DK, I agree. I think the Cowboys should have Tyler Smith at left tackle. Tyler Smith is absolutely the best lineman they have right now. I would absolutely put him at left tackle. I would move Tyler Guyton to right tackle. I absolutely would. And I would have Brock Hoffman as my center. I would move Cooper Beebe to left guard, and I'd leave Tyler Booker at right guard. I really would. Roger Adams, he says Sanders ducked big running backs just like Diggs. Yeah, only problem is, though, Trayvon Diggs don't have the speed that Deion Sanders had. And so Deion Sanders could allow running backs to maybe get past him, but he was so quick, but he could also catch them and make a tackle from behind, hit their legs or whatever the case may be. And so let me see if I can pull up some stuff that I had did on Matt Eberflus. I hope I still have it. Maybe it's here. I had pulled up some stuff on Matt Eberflus's defense. And Matt Eberflus, his defense, it's pretty different. And if not, let me see. I'll pull it up. Let's see here. If not, I'm pretty sure I'll find it. Just give me just a second here. But I want to pull up this thing here on Matt Eberflus. Let's see. I know I got it in my notes here. Yeah, Matt Eberflus's defense is really predicated on that offense. On that 3-tech position. Let's see. All right, check this out. This is an article that was written by Blogging the Boys when Matt Eberflus, I think, first got hired. And I want you to see some things about his tendencies. Got a couple other things too here. I want you to see, though, because the thing that kind of started catching my eye about Matt Eberflus is that Matt Eberflus's defense sounds a lot like Dan Quinn's defense. Matt Eberflus's defense sounds a lot like Dan Quinn's. Says here, so it says he had 4 successful seasons running the Colts defense, helped Matt Eberflus land the head coaching gig for the Bears. That kicked off a trying tenure that saw plenty of struggles, both on and off the field for the team. Eberflus was fired shortly after a Thanksgiving loss to the Detroit Lions this past season, a game that saw him opt not to call a timeout in a critical in-the-game moment. It was the first time in the Bears' 104-year history that had fired a coach mid-season. Eberflus finished with a 14-32 record. Don't let that discourage you from this hire. Eberflus might not have worked out as a head coach, but his defensive prowess has not disappeared. While Eberflus initially did not call the plays on defense in Chicago, he took over 2 weeks in the 2023 season. It says once Eberflus resumed calling plays, his defense flourished. They finished that year 9th in EPA, and I think that's expected points attempt or expected points average or per play or something. And I noticed they kept using this thing with EPA, but that's not where I was interested. I want to know how good is he against the run, nothing else. But again, it says he's got some kind of philosophy called HITS, an acronym called Hustle, Intensity, Takeaways, and Smart. The HITS principle is the fundamental linchpin of the Eberflus defense. Hustle and intensity basically go hand in hand. Eberflus uses the low system that Marinelli utilized in Dallas and in other stops, which essentially amounts to tracking how often a player is being lazy during a play. Eberflus often points to the final 3 seconds of any given play, tracking an acceleration to and through the play. I get concerned when I hear this type of stuff. And again, as we can continue to read this is reading like a Dan Quinn type of defense. It says takeaways. Eberflus has frequently stressed the importance of them. In his 4 seasons in Indianapolis, the Colts defense finished top 10 in takeaways all but 1 year. The Bears accomplished that feat each of the last 2 years as well. Eberflus stresses tip drill fundamentals and ball stripping techniques often in practices to encourage this. This is the same thing Dan Quinn did. When Dan Quinn came here and took over as the defensive coordinator, what did the Cowboys have? Whole lot of turnovers. They created a whole lot of turnovers. And Dan Quinn had a philosophy. Everybody get to the ball. Everybody hustle to the ball. Sounds like Dan Quinn. It says, now this is where it might just a little bit stray. It says his final tenet comes down to being smart, disciplined. I think that's where Dan Quinn kind of went off the rails. Says his Colt defenses finished each season with fewer penalties than the year before, and his Bears defenses finished in the top 5 in fewest penalties 2 of his 3 seasons. The Dallas Cowboys have suffered year after year after year with very bad defensive penalties that have kept offenses in games and continuing the drive. But again, it says the S in hits, it means simplicity. Eberflus's defense is not one that is going to confuse quarterbacks before or after the snap. While he showed some willingness to deviate in his final year at Chicago, Eberflus is generally pretty vanilla with his defensive concepts. This is intentional, though, as Eberflus prefers to keep things simple for his defense and instead put all the emphasis on playing fast and explosive. He doesn't want his players thinking too much about what coverage they're supposed to switch to or how to shift their front based on the offensive alignments, but instead to have just one assignment and go complete their task. It says this will be a departure from Zimmer's scheme, which was notoriously complex, but it is a nightmare for opposing offenses when it's properly understood by the defenders. So again, very simple defensive scheme by Matt Eberflus. But again, it's also a bend don't break defense, because that's exactly what Marinelli's defenses were. It says, for those who remember Marinelli days in Dallas, Eberflus has some similar personal requirements when it comes to his roster. He doesn't necessarily require big bodies in the trenches or insane height in the secondary, but there are 2 positions of severe importance in his scheme. Now, a lot of us, as I mentioned, we've been screaming for the one-tech position for the Dallas Cowboys. But the 2 crucial positions in the Matt Eberflus defensive scheme is not the one-tech defensive tackle. The 2 important positions in Matt Eberflus's defense is the 3-tech defensive tackle and the linebacker. And there is a reason why they call Matt Eberflus the linebacker whisperer. That's what they call him. And so it says right here, the first important position is the 3-technique defensive tackle, which is described as the engine that makes this defense run. So Mozzie Smith may not be the problem that everybody thought he was going to be, because in the grand scheme of things, he doesn't play the major role in the Matt Eberflus defense. Also, Diggy is going to play the huge role in the Matt Eberflus defense. It says Eberflus demands an athletic 3 technique that can disrupt the mesh point, and he builds his entire front around this player. Maybe this is why the Cowboys haven't done anything right there at the one tech that people wanted them to do. Also, Odighizuwa is going to be major in Matt Eberflus' scheme. And I think he fits it perfectly. Because if you look at Oso Digizua, he's a very up the field defensive tackle. He's not one of the top-ranked run stoppers, but he's one of the top-ranked pass rushers. Also, Digizua creates a lot of havoc on the defensive line. He creates a lot of havoc on the defensive front. So, Matt Eberflus has exactly what he wants. Also, Digizua is an ideal fit for what Eberflus needs here. But the defensive tackle's rookie deal is set to expire this offseason. Well, we already got him signed. Eberflus is likely to push for Oso Digizua's extension. Yeah, I already got it. But it's unclear what might happen there. Nope, I already got it. Now, the second most important position in the Matt Eberflus defensive scheme. The linebacker spots are crucial to the scheme. It says Eberflus, unlike Zimmer, uses nickel packages at an extremely high rate. It says as such, he really only needs a Mike and a Will linebacker. This is one of the reasons why I'm wondering if Micah Parsons may see some time at linebacker up under Matt Eberflus. That he may actually move him in between linebacker and edge rusher. It says there are two main traits he looks for in his linebackers regardless of spot: size and range. His linebacker duo in Indianapolis, Shaq Leonard and Bobby or Okereke. I'm pretty sure I messed that name up. And Chicago, Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards all measure at least 6'2" and right around the 240-pound range. And Sanborn was, man, he was nice over there. It says the Mike spot requires someone with instincts in zone coverage and good downhill speed. They need to be able to reliably drop into the middle of the field in pass coverage, but also trigger downhill run support. As for the Will, Eberflus requires a sideline-to-sideline run stuffer type. He frequently aligns the Will behind the 3 technique to help keep them clean in the run defense. On paper, Overshown is the ideal Mike. Got to stay healthy. Maurice Leofau came in strong towards the end of his rookie year and showed several traits that would seem destined for the Will spot, though Eberflus may feel differently once he reviews the tape. And I think that's why Sanborn is here. So they got Murray Jr. and they got Sanborn. And I disagree with Mina Kimes talking about that they, talking about how the linebacking position isn't that good or they didn't really make, they're not world beaters. I think in the Eberflus defense, I think they're going to be great. And this is the other issue I was worried about, as I've been telling y'all for the last 2 or 3 days, bend, don't break. I just don't like bend, don't break defenses. I don't like bend, don't break, because the problem is when they break wide open. When they break wide open. And they are hard. And those defenses do not play well from behind. Bend, don't break defenses do not play well from behind. USMC, appreciate that super chat. Unless Eberflus is willing to learn from his mistakes and Parsons is willing to be a team player and stop worrying about sacks and play linebacker, he won't be worth the money. USMC. Micah Parsons has got to get coached. Micah Parsons has literally, to me, been playing on just pure raw talent. When I heard Micah Parsons talk about the coaching that he got on the collegiate level, he hasn't got that coaching to me on the pro side. It's like they've basically been just letting him go out there and do whatever he wants to do. Matt Eberflus has got to come in here and say, hey, man, we need to put you in a position to succeed. We need to put you in a position to where it's going to be best for the team. Nobody is saying move Micah Parsons to linebacker. But what we are saying, USMC, me and you on the same page. I think they're going to have to be more strategic with Micah Parsons. Now, y'all might not remember this, but last year, before Demarion Overshown wound up coming back early, Mike Zimmer actually wanted to play Micah Parsons at the linebacker position. He said they had actually planned to play him at the linebacker position. But Overshown came back so early that they went ahead and just left Michael where he was. I think that was a mistake. And I think down towards the end when Zimmer was like, he wished he would have implemented his scheme earlier. Well, it's hard to implement your scheme when you have one player that for whatever reason it seems like that nobody can say, hey, we're not just going to play you at the edge position. Well, if that's how you're going to carry on, you're not going to be able to do what you need to do. So I am in total agreement, USMC. I've been saying this. They have got to, they can't just do what Zimmer did. Hey, Micah, move wherever you want to. So you're telling me that all the other 10 players on defense, they have an assignment. But Micah Parsons just gets to run all over the place. No. You're going to have to use him strategically. You are. And you're going to have to put him in positions to where he not only succeeds, but put him in a situation to where it's best for the entire defense. It says here, in keeping with Eberflus's prioritization of execution of a scheme, his defense is also built on a bend but don't break philosophy. I can't stand that. This leads to his defenses frequently giving up a lot of yards, but faring much better in points allowed. I don't like it. Y'all tell me what I do not like that type of philosophy. Those defenses don't play well from behind. And when those defenses break, I'm telling you, they break wide open. I don't like those type of defenses. Last time I checked, the Cowboys didn't win any Super Bowls under Rob Marinelli. If I'm the Cowboys, I don't want that type of defense. The Cowboys need a dominant defense. It says this also means that Eberflus is not much of an attacker as a play caller. Up front, he rarely blitzes. So that means he's going to depend on Micah, Osa, Dante, Ezeraku, Sam Williams, and Nealon getting to the quarterback and everyone else stay and keep their assignment. It says he never ranked higher than 16th in blitz rate. And all but one of his defenses have ranked in the 20s. Eberflus also makes limited use of simulated pressures with his defensive line. By contrast, both Zimmer and Dan Quinn made a living off of both concepts. When Eberflus does blitz, he has an overwhelming tendency to do so with his slot cornerback. It says in coverage, Eberflus makes use of two deep safeties, much like Zimmer. However, he is not one that uses much disguise in his coverages, primarily cycling between cover 2 zone, cover 2 man, cover 4, also known as quarters. This is philosophically in line with the rise of Vic Fangio's defensive scheme, although both coaches teach their techniques slightly different. Still, Eberflus shares with Fangio an intent on taking away big plays, making the offense work for tiny gain after tiny gain all the way down the field, banking on his players, forcing a mistake out of the offense at some point, long drives. The approach has worked wonders at two different stops in Eberflus's career. Can he have the same success in Dallas? I don't like the philosophy. I don't like it. Maybe he'll be better here because he's got a little bit better talent, but I'm concerned. I'm also concerned because I think the secondary play of Chicago was better than the Cowboys. I'm very concerned about this part of his defense. And let's kind of look at something here. When you start looking at this stuff, I'm telling you about these bend don't break defenses. I cannot stand these defenses because what winds up happening to them, you will notice that they are very close. They play a lot of close to the vest games. A lot of close to the vest games. You rarely see them playing games to where their defense is. I mean, if you got an offense, I guess if we're banking on the Cowboys to score a bunch of points and their offense to really be a big part of their defense, maybe it can work. But the Cowboys are going to, even though I think they're going to play some good defensive teams this year, I think the Cowboys are still going to be hard to stop offensively. So again, maybe that works. But I also say that when you get to the playoffs, sometimes these defenses break. So looking at the box scores on his defenses, just looking at last season, I want you to look at these scores. 24-17, 19-13, 21-16. See, these are like close games. 16-21, 24-18. Panthers were trash. I mean, they were terrible. 36-10. Jaguars were terrible. 35-16. Held the Commanders to 18 points. But notice again, very, very close game. Cardinals, they got beat 23-9. Patriots, they got beat 19-3. Because this is my problem with these bend don't break defenses, because I'm telling you, man, when they break, they break. And then when a lot of the games, you'll notice, I kind of figured this before you even look at the box scores. Look at these games. They're close games. They're close games. That's not what we're looking for. Look at this, 2019. Look, 30-27. 23-20. When they break, they break. 38-13. When they break, they break. 30-12. When they break, they break. 34-17. The Seahawks, 6-3. The Bears, close game. 24-22. This, it reeks to me of a Dan Quinn type defense. It reeks of a Dan Quinn type defense. Let's go back and look at some of these things in here. Just want to look at the team stats overall. So it looks like they gave up 140 yards rushing against the Tennessee Titans. Just want to look at a few of these games. Team stats against the Texans. Gave up 134 yards against the Texans. Played his old team, the Colts. Held them to 63. No, they gave up. Looks like they gave up 150 yards to the Colts. This is the problem with these bend don't break defenses. Tremendous amounts of yardages given up. You're not winning championships like that. I don't think you win championships like that. I just don't. I just don't think you win championships like this. Against the Rams, gave up another 119 yards rushing. Of course, the Rams beat them. Panthers, Jaguars, terrible. Still gave up 120 yards against the Panthers. But we all know Dalton ain't what. Jaguars. Held the Jaguars at 68 yards. Again, you can just go through these games We already know. I bet you the Cardinals ran all over them. The Cardinals amassed 213 yards against the Bears. I'm telling us, man. I like Eberflus, but I'm telling you, I'm very concerned. When I started doing some research, I'm like, wait a minute, hold on a second, man. And this is why I noticed when blogging the boys, I noticed in this article when they started ranking his defense, I noticed that they didn't want to talk about his rank against the run, his rank against the pass. Instead, they start going with this stuff that this EPA, this EPA per play, expected points per attempt or something like that. I don't hear that junk. I want to hear stuff that just normal football fans understand. What was his rank against the run? What was his rank against the pass? That's all I want to know. Johnny Blue, appreciate that super chat. Johnny Blue said, there's no way the linebackers are going to take the place of a big boy on the line. This is Matt Eberflus. They're telling you the scheme. And I'm just wondering, how does this all work out? Star Guardian X. Appreciate the super chat. We are still in trouble according to the stats. Star Guardian, I'm telling us, when I started digging into Matt Eberflus's, when I started digging into the way his defense is run. See, look at this gobbledygook. This is just gobbledygook right here. EPA per play, 13th in success rate. EPA per rush, 16th. I don't care about this stuff. I don't care about this stuff. Give me the simple stuff, man. How good was he against the run? How good was he against the pass? And when you start breaking down the box scores, you start seeing simply teams just tremendous yardage on them. Look at what Brock Purdy did to him. 321 yards. Bend, don't break defenses. I don't like the philosophy. I don't like it. Kevin Edwards said this is 100% correct. The defense screwed up in the first 49ers matchup. I don't like these philosophies of bend, don't break. I don't like those philosophies, man. I want dominant defenses. I do. Hey, Roger Adams, let me tell you something about the 90s Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys in 1992, Roger Adams. The Dallas Cowboys. You can call it bend, don't break you want to. They didn't bend. Roger Adams, the 1992 Cowboys, had the number one defense in football. Last time I checked, Matt Eberflus did not have the number one defense in football. Rob Marinelli did not have the number one defense in football. They did not claim. That was not their claim to fame. Matt Eberflus is not even in the same conversation as those defenses. He's not in the same conversation. No, those Dallas Cowboy defenses, man, people don't understand. Those defenses don't get the credit they deserved. Those defenses were no joke. They were the number one defense. Period in the story. We didn't see this kind of stuff. Let me show you here. No, we can't even compare Eberflus to this. No. Cowboys had the number one defense in football. You want to see where I'm telling you I know what I'm talking about? What I'm talking about here, Roger Adams? These things are not the same. I'm going to show you another article on Matt Eberflus. Defenses gives up tremendous yards. Defense gives up tremendous yards. You want to see about the 1992 Cowboys? I don't know when you got bend, don't break. Because the Cowboys didn't do no bending in 1992, my brother. Look at this. The 1992 Cowboys was the best in the league, allowing the fewest yards overall. That is not what bend, don't break defenses do. That is not what bend, don't break defenses do. Look at this. They led the league in stopping the run. That is not what bend, don't break defenses do. The Cowboys defense particularly was effective at preventing their opponents from getting first downs. That is not what bend, don't break defenses do. Third downs. The opponents had very low conversion rate on third down against the Cowboys defense. That is not what bend, don't break defenses do. They do not do that. Bend, don't break defenses, Roger Adams, they give up plenty of yards, plenty of first downs. Where you bank on them is that they don't give up the points. But if you look at Matt Eberflus's defense, even as much as they even tried to give him credit for last year, he got destroyed in points. When they played good teams, he got destroyed. The Dallas Cowboys in 1992 had the number one total defense. They held their opponents to under 4,000 yards in 16 games? What? They led the league in fewest yards allowed. That is not what bend, don't break defenses do. Fewest first downs allowed and fewest third down conversions. That is not what bend, don't break defenses do, and that is not true, Roger Adams. The Cowboys did not have a bend, don't break defense in 1992, nor 1993. That is not what the Cowboys did. The Cowboys controlled the lines of scrimmage in 1992 and 1993. Those 90s Cowboys defenses were literally insane. They were literally insane. See, this is the part I keep telling us about Troy Aikman and Dak Prescott. People don't realize, as much as the Dallas Cowboys were known for the triplets, the unsung heroes of the Cowboys are their offensive and defensive lines. They were disgustingly good. The Cowboys' offensive and defensive lines were disgustingly good. They were killing teams. They were absolutely killing teams. And again, I don't know where you got this Cowboys bend, don't break defense from. Cowboys didn't have no doggone bend, don't break defense. Cowboys were killing teams. Cowboys were killing teams during the Super Bowl runs. Killing them. Go back and look at that Super Bowl where Troy Aikman got the MVP of that Super Bowl. Shoot, go back and look at what that defense did to the Buffalo Bills. Man, they knocked Jim Kelly butt out the game. Made the Buffalo Bills turn the ball over multiple times. Man, they destroyed the Buffalo Bills. Those types of defenses win Super Bowls. Bend, don't break defenses, man, they make NFC championship games maybe. Those types of defenses. And this is the trap I don't want us to fall into. Bend, don't break defenses. The offense is also a huge part of the defense. Because bend, don't break defenses. You know what they want the offense to do? Bend, don't break defenses say, hey, offense, if we'll just hold these teams to maybe 2 touchdowns and we hold them to maybe 3 or 4 field goals, and maybe we can get the game to be somewhere where they maybe only score 23 points. Offense, can y'all please score 30 points this game? You don't want that because that's what we did when Dan Quinn was here. I'm hoping that Matt Eberflus does better. I'm not going to throw the I'm not trying to throw him under the bus and roll over him. But what I am saying is I got some concerns. I have some concerns about Matt Eberflus's defense. I do. I have some concerns. We got some great defensive coaches, I believe, but I have some concerns. I don't like when I hear bend don't break. When you start talking to me about bend don't break, the thing that I'm thinking about is what happens when you break. What happens when you break? When you break, that means you're broken. I get very concerned when I start hearing all this bend don't break talk. I don't like it. And that talk also means we're going to put we're going to put a lot of the responsibility on our offense's ability to score. I don't want that mess. Jared Thomas says some Eagle fans have started using EPA to try to over-glorify Jalen Hurts' overall production. Yep, they can't go to normal data like yards or TDs. You know why? Because when you start looking at the real data, it don't say the same thing. And that's why, Jared, appreciate that super chat. That's why Blogging the Boys, I understand what they're doing. They want to tell Dallas Cowboys, don't be worried about Matt Eberflus. Star Guarding, appreciate that super chat. He said maybe Schottenheimer can get him to be aggressive. We're going to see. We are going to see. But I'm telling you, these types of defenses, these to me are not championship defenses. Unless, and maybe this is what they're depending on. Have y'all noticed? I'm starting to hear a common theme. With George Pickens, the Cowboys are going to score points. I hope that's not our mentality. I hope that's not our mentality. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if that is going to be the Cowboys' mentality, let me show you something. If that's going to be the Cowboys' mentality, we might better pump the brakes. Because let me show you what we're up against this year. I'm not as worried about the Eagles, but they're going to be able to run the ball, or they're going to run the ball. And when you talk about bend don't break, the Philadelphia Eagles, with the style of football they play, they can break you. They can break you because they're the type of team, along with that tush push, they're the type of team that can easily run 230 or 4. They can run 230 yards on you any given game. And we already know that once the Eagles get within 1 yard of the goal line, you can stop the tush push once. Can you stop it twice? Because no team has hardly been able to stop it twice. 2 times in a row, it's hard to stop. Not worried about the Giants. The Bears will give the Cowboys some issues because of familiarity. The Packers, they're going to be able to run the ball. Not worried about the Jets. Not worried about the Panthers. The Commanders, I'm not worried about the Commanders. You know where we're going to have to start getting worried? When we run up against the Broncos. When a team like the Broncos, that they do have a very good defense, and where it could be a close game, and where they do have an aggressive offense, and you start talking about bend, don't break. When you start playing teams like the Cardinals, the Cowboys have had problems with the last few meetings. When you start talking about the Raiders, when you start talking about the Eagles, when you start talking about the Chiefs, when you start talking about the Lions, when you start talking about the Vikings, the Chargers, when you talk about those teams, you're not looking for bend don't break. You need defenses that can absolutely stop the meat of this schedule. This is the meat of this schedule. These other teams, I'm not overly concerned about. I'm not overly concerned. Again, the Eagles can run the ball. The Eagles are going to be a serious test for the Cowboys. And if you're talking about being don't break, well, you better get ready. The Eagles are going to run the rock. They're going to test the Cowboys out. They are going to run the rock. Book it. The Eagles is the best game to me that we could have ever played to open up the season. I don't think they're going to test us as much down the field, but they're going to test us exactly where we need to be tested. Can we stop the run? We're going to know immediately. We're not going to have to wait to game 2 or 3. We're going to know immediately, can we stop the run? That's why I'm glad we're playing the Eagles. We need that type of work. We need to know exactly where we stand first game of the season so we know where we need to go from that point forward. I didn't want to get to game 6, 7, or 8, and then we start talking about, man, we got run stopping problems. I want to know game 1. What are we looking at? Not worried about the Giants or the Bears, like I said before. Green Bay Packers going to be another run type team. Jordan Love is seriously predicated upon play action. They are going to run the ball. If I'm not mistaken, didn't they get Aaron Jones back? Whatever the case may be, they can still run the ball. They got guys that can run the ball. Not as worried about the Jets or the Panthers. Commanders, I think we have their number. But again, this is the meat of the schedule. Starting with the Broncos. Nothing but meat. Broncos, Cardinals, Raiders, Eagles again, Chiefs, Lions, Vikings, Chargers. Those games right there are going to tell us where we're going in the playoffs. These games right here, they're going to either make or break us. That's 8 games. That's 8 games of the 17. The Cowboys of those other 9 games, I don't think they'll go undefeated. Of those 9 games, those are including those division games. Of those 9 games, the Cowboys, 6-3 maybe? 6-3, 7-2. 6-3, 7-2. Then when you get to these 8 games, what do? Because I do believe the Cowboys get that 6-3, 7-2 record. 7-2 will be fantastic. 6-3 might be a little bit more realistic. You never know what could happen. 6-3, these are your 8 games that determine whether or not you're 10-7, 11-6, 12-5, or 13-4. And they are some doozies. And the reason being, the Broncos will be able to run the ball. The Cardinals will be able to run the ball. The Raiders, you better believe they're going to be able to run the ball. The Eagles, we already know they can run the ball. The Chiefs, yes, they can run the ball. The Lions, absolutely can run the ball. The Vikings, they can run the ball somewhat. The Chargers, yes, they're going to be able to run the ball now. They're going to be able to run the ball now. So again, these 8 teams, this is where bend don't break starts to concern me. Because I'm telling you, Sean Payton will break you. Sean Payton will break you. He's going to give you everything you can handle. Sean Payton will break you. The Cardinals, for whatever reason, they just seem to continue to give us problems. The Raiders with Ashton Genty. Y'all already know how these players play against the Cowboys. These rookies, man, these guys get up for these Cowboy games. Genty, again, the Eagles, we already know they can run the ball. Saquon Barkley can run on anybody. The Chiefs, we'll see what they are, but nevertheless, they still got Patrick Mahomes. He is the best quarterback in the league. The 1-2 punch of the Lions, they can absolutely run the ball. We got to see what they're going to look like with a different offensive coordinator. The Vikings don't really know as much about them. And the Chargers, again, they got Hampton back there now. They made some major improvements. We're gonna be fighting to the death. So again, our schedule are going to our fate as far as the playoffs go are going to be made against 8 teams that can absolutely run the ball. And by the way, did I mention that 4 of these teams have absolutely good defenses? The Broncos defense is very good. The Raiders defense, watch them on tape, good. Chiefs defense, good. Eagles defense, we'll see what they're going to be. I think they're going to take a step back defensively, won't be as good, but still be good. Lions, if they're healthy, they're going to be good. So we're going to see what we're going to do. But this Matt Eberflus thing, man, after doing research on this Matt Eberflus defense thing with this bend don't break is got me a little bit concerned. It has me a little bit concerned. Let me go to the comments before I get out of here. Stephen White, he says Sammy and Michael at the linebacker and goal line defensive maybe. Hey. DK said, Roger, man, we got a CMC type of back. We're gold. He said, I like blue, but you got high expectations. Hope you're right. Again, DK, I don't think that's what they have Jaden Blue for, at least right now. Jaden Blue is the Tony Pollard. He's the upgraded, extremely upgraded, even though we still have to see it. But on paper, he's the upgraded Tony Pollard. Phil Maffa is the guy who you really hoping that's going to work his way to the top of that depth chart and be the bell cow back and be the next DeMarco Murray. Let Toya and Tommy play the one tech, go with our young, hungry rookie. And again, Poobie D, I've already showed you. As much as we've been talking about the one tech, Matt Eberflus's defense is predicated on the 3 tech. And so I think Osa's going to be fine there. Lisa said, I'm excited for the season. Me too. She said, I can't wait. We don't got long. It's coming fast. Oh, yeah. Yep. I'm ready. Roger says, hold on a second. Let me get to some more in here. Robert Dudley said, defense is cracking some heads. And I'm telling this, man, again, those 92, 93 Cowboys, no, we don't have that type of defense. Them boys were not breaking and bending. Them boys were breaking people down. Those defenses were crazy with it, man. Unlucky said running the ball and stopping the run starts at practice. Dallas does more walkthroughs and less contact at practice. If I'm Jerry, I'm paying practice fine. He said competing is winning is what matters. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Got to stop that run, man. My man Ice Cold Cowboy, he said they saying Super Bowl or bust. I hope so. USMC said, I agree. It's what I'm saying. It's a waste of talent. He can do so much. Man, I'm telling you, this bend don't break stuff. We got to get it. Roger said, gee, check out the early 90s. The secondary was bend, but don't break. While the linebackers and defensive line play straight 4-3. You know what? I do think, though, Roger, again, I think the secondary was underrated. If Kevin Smith does not get that Achilles, I think Kevin Smith probably goes down as one of the better corners in history. Larry Brown, I thought he was questionable. But for the most part, when the Cowboys, you talk about safety play, nah, them boys were golden. Them boys were golden. They were crazy with it. Cowboys had a great team in the 90s. Nah, we didn't do all that bend, don't break stuff. Unlucky. Yeah, Michael needs to work smarter, not harder. It's not all about a sack, Michael. And see, that's why I said before, Unlucky, I asked the question, what is Michael Parsons' signature move? Michael's going to have to understand, just like all players have to understand, when you're as talented as he is, you have to get to a point, just like Michael Jordan did. Michael Jordan got to the point and figured out that I can't physically dominate my entire career the way that I did when I was younger. So Michael Jordan started developing other areas of his game. Rather than driving to the bucket, shortening his years in the league, he developed a follow-away jumper. A follow-away jumper that couldn't be stopped. You really have to develop, really develop your skill set. Reality, what's going on? He said Paulson's getting paid, so he should play where he's told. Yes, sir. He's an employee, not the boss. And I'm with you. Man, once you get your pay, man, come on, man. Just play what they tell you to play. Cool Breeze, he said Roger Adams, the 3-tech, plays on the outside shade of an even front 4-3 defense. I wish we were a doomsday caliber defense. Yeah, I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, I want a dominant defense. I don't want all that bend don't break stuff. Gregory Davis said Eberflus defense will be a top 10 because of this one thing that he never had with the Colts Bears. It's an offense like the Cowboys. Again, Gregory Davis, that's my concern though. The bend don't break defenses actually depend on the offense to be a part of the defense. They want the offense to score a lot of points. They want the offense to score a lot of points. Because they're saying we're not going to stop the opposing offense from scoring points. Offense, we'll keep them scoring less points. Rather than scoring touchdowns, we'll get them field goals. So if they get 4 cracks at the end zone, rather than it being 28-20, or maybe rather than them scoring 28, we'll hold them to 20. We'll hold them to 16. Can y'all at least get 21 or 24 points? We can hold them below. I don't want that type of defense. I don't want that type of defense. I would rather you have a defense that absolutely dominates teams. We looked at this before, but let me see if I can break this thing down for you right here. This is very telling when you look at the 1992 Cowboys. This is what I'm using as kind of a gauge. I want you to look at how the 1992 Cowboys did teams. First game of the season, they held the Washington Redskins to 10 points. They kind of got in a shootout with the New York Giants, 34-28. They got the Phoenix Cardinals, I'm thinking who that is. They scored 20 points. Against the Philadelphia Eagles, they wound up giving up 31 points. They blanked the Seattle Seahawks, held Kansas City to 10, held the Raiders to 13, held the Philadelphia Eagles to 10, held the Detroit Lions to 3. The Rams scored 27 points, and look what happened. They beat them. They held the Phoenix Cardinals to 10, New York Giants to 3, Denver Broncos 27. It was a shootout. 17-20, 41-17, held the Atlanta Falcons to 17, held the Bears to 14, had a total of 243 points. They were not bending. No, they were stopping teams. When you give up 10 points, that's not bending. No, that's not bending. When you give up 7, you're not bending. When you give up I'm sorry. Let me go to the other side. I'm on the Cowboy side. When you giving up 10 points, 0 points, 10 points, 13, 10, 3, 10, 3. No, you're stopping teams, man. You're stopping teams. You're holding teams to 10 points, 13 points, no points, 3 points. Man, you stopping teams. The Cowboys need that type of dominance. This is when you know you're winning championships. Bend don't break. Man, you're always in danger of running up against a team, especially in the playoffs. You're always in danger of running up against a team that can absolutely score points. We read a stat last night that was crazy on the defense of the Baltimore Ravens team that Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl on. It was inevitable for that team to win the Super Bowl. That team held every team in the postseason to a total of 23 points. 23 points? You're telling me in the playoffs combined, that's all they scored. That's crazy. That's the kind of defense you want. Jared said, appreciate that super chat. Jared said, bend but don't break defenses are typically bad defenses that have to hold on for dear life to not be god awful. I mean, we looked at the box scores from last year. When those defenses bit, they broke. And that's why they, that's why they used all that EPA stuff. Because if you really start digging into the numbers, Matt Eberflus, they were not a top run-stopping team, which is what the Dallas Cowboy fans are looking for. Look at the Dallas Cowboys in the 1992 season. Look at them in the playoffs. The Cowboys in the postseason, they held their opponents to 47 points. That's a championship defense. That's a championship level defense. There was no threat of the Cowboys losing to the Philadelphia Eagles. There was no threat losing to, I'm thinking that's San Francisco. There was no threat to them losing to San Francisco. There was no threat them losing to Buffalo. Because the Cowboys defense absolutely destroyed. They destroyed. I was trying to find the Buffalo Bills. They destroyed the Buffalo Bills in that Super Bowl. I mean, they destroyed them defensively, man. Destroyed them. I mean, turned them over multiple times. If I'm not mistaken, this is, let's see here. I'm thinking this is what they did to the Buffalo Bills. Look at the turnovers. I mean, they destroyed them. They absolutely destroyed them. And so I'm hoping that because Matt Eberflus, I think he's going to enjoy maybe better personnel. I'm thinking because he may have better personnel, that maybe he will be able to be better than he was in the past. DK says, what is true, we got many players on this team that cares about stats and not playing smart. And I'm hoping this is where Brian Schottenheimer rises to the occasion and have this team not worried about all these stats. Again, there it is, goes to Mike McCarthy. Yeah. The offense is actually a part of the defense on bend, don't break defenses. Those bend, don't break defenses are praying that the offense scores a bunch of points. Because if their offense scores a lot of points, they're basically saying that if that team comes to the well 5 times in the red zone, they're saying that we'll guarantee you that if they come to the well 5 times, they'll only get, for example, 3 touchdowns. We're guaranteeing you we can hold them to 3 touchdowns. And if we're really good, we can hold them to 2. We can guarantee you that if they come to the well, we can hold them to 23 points. Well, what if that team scores 28? What if they don't hold them? There is tremendous pressure on your offense to score a lot of points when you got a bend, don't break defense. Again, I'm telling you, I'm not worried. I'm not worried from the standpoint of I think that he's terrible. But I got some concerns. Because I believe that the Cowboys offense, if they don't do nothing else, I think the Cowboys offense is going to be, dare I say, top 7 offense. If the Cowboys don't make another move offensively, I believe they'll be top 7. If they be what we think they are, they're going to probably be top 5, top 3. Question is, do we have a top 5 defense? I'm not sure we're there yet. Reality Cowboy says, I don't like it either. North friggin' Dan Quinn. Man, hey, Reality Cowboy. I did not like Dan Quinn's philosophy. He the same one that gave up 25 points to the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. He the same one that did that. I don't like it, man. Cool Breeze, he said it's going to come down to talent level, especially in the secondary, to determine what the defensive coordinator can do. Yeah. What's going on? R shake and bake? Yes, sir. USMC, kind of a weak schedule. A lot of people say it's a strong schedule. I don't think it's that strong except right there in those 8 games. But those other 9 games, man, Cowboys should go 6-3 easy. Roger Adams said, G, you're not talking about huge human beings. We drafted and signed in free agents. Oh, I'm good. I think we got some good players. But I'm just wondering about the scheme. USMC, Eberflus going to have to change it up this year. Yeah. Ice Cold said, nothing like the smell of smoked chicken on the grill while talking Cowboys. Yes, sir. I feel you. Yeah, shake and bake, I'm with you. Don't want to talk about, because again, shake and bake. I think we're going to lead the league in sacks. I think we're going to be one of the top pass rushing teams in the league. But what does that leave us against the run? All right, guys, I appreciate you. Yep, goes to Mike McCarthy said, Moneyball analytics in football are more annoying than the ones in baseball. Boy, oh, man. Facts. Straight facts. All that old gargly gook stuff. I don't even want to hear it, man. I just want to know how good you were against the run in the past. That's all I want to know. Solomon Jernigan in the crib. What up? He said linebacker helps sets the edge so the D-line can get upfield without thinking so much, just get at the ball. I do think they improved the linebacking position, so I do think he's going to help. Bernard Fields said I almost had the scoring title in that Super Bowl. Man, I'm telling you, the Cowboys put up, if you're talking about the Cowboys in 92, they put up points, man. Ice Cold said we're going to put up 37 on Philly in the first game. Boy, I'm ready too. Ghost said defense already has major pieces missing due to injury, so Oxnard needs to be a serious injury-free zone during training camps. Man, I'm praying for the injury. I'm praying for the injuries, man. Robert Dudley, you hit it right on the head. For everyone to succeed, know me and I. Straight up. Straight up. All right, let's get some more. Then I'm gonna give a couple more, then I'm gonna be out of here. Let me get to the end. I'm gonna get somebody the last words here. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna give Richard Villegas and Poobie D the last one. Richard said you don't think field goals won't win regardless if you stop them from scoring and you don't keep them from scoring. A lot of pressure. Again, a lot of pressure on your offense when you're doing that stuff. All right. Poobie D said, G, you sound like Grady with that garbage goop. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Again, I appreciate y'all rocking with me. Best chat on YouTube. Until the next time, let's talk Cowboys. When we talk facts. Peace.